Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Flossmoor. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd. I'm going to call folks from the sign-in sheet who signed up to speak this evening during the public comment portion of the agenda. If you have signed up to speak, we just ask that you please introduce yourself by giving your name and address, and that you limit your comments to 5 minutes per person for a total public comment time of 30 minutes, and that you act with decorum and address the public body at large and not a single member of staff. The time is 7:02. Clerk Legavo, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Daggett.
Here.
Trustee Dorsey.
Here.
Trustee Lofton.
Here.
Trustee Mitros.
Here.
Trustee Mustafa.
Here.
Trustee Rogers.
Here.
Mayor Nelson.
Present. Thank you so much. We have a quorum. First up, I'd like to get a motion to appoint Marlena Bayless Ruffin and Travis Adams, Marlena as the chair of the Community Relations Commission and Travis as the vice chair of the commission. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you so much. Marlena Bayless Ruffin was appointed to this Community Relations Commission in 2023. She is a tech consultant and also a coach specifically for women. And just an incredible addition to community relations. She is constantly looking for ways to bring people together and very active on that committee. Also, Travis Adams, he is my choice for vice chair. I don't think he's ever gotten a B in his life, and I don't think he'll get a B in this role either. He's an advocate for the elderly, youths, and vulnerable populations, and he's really spent his whole life assisting others. So I'm going to ask for comments. I'll start with Carolyn Rogers. Trustee Rogers.
No comments?
Thank you. Trustee Mustafa.
I've attended several meetings that include new board members and the board members now being is it nominated or appointed. And I do believe sincerely that they'll both do an excellent job. The CRC is near and dear to my heart, and I always look forward to the new things that they're going to do. The community benefits greatly for their engagement. Thank you for your service, and thank you for stepping up to lead in the CRC.
Thank you. Trustee Mitros.
Just simply thank you for your service. We appreciate it, and we appreciate all the hard work you really put in.
Thank you. Trustee Lofton.
Yes, thank you for your service. It's one thing to join the committee and work with the commission, but to lead it is another step forward, and appreciate that effort.
Thank you. Trustee Dorsey.
Yeah, I know the work that this commission does, and it is a job that oftentimes goes without thanks, but we as a community, we benefit from all the great things that the CRC does. So again, I applaud anyone who steps up to volunteer their time, especially when their time is going to be put to task, and look forward to all the great work the CRC continues to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Day.
Yeah, so I can't speak as much to the relationship with Travis, but the resume is fantastic. And anytime someone volunteers to put themselves in that position to help the community, it's a great undertaking. I can speak to Marlena, who's actually a close friend. And the thing I respect about Marlena is that her and I can have some very, very difficult, raw, real conversations about things that not everybody can. And her temperament and her ability to navigate those conversations and also help me to move my perspective while also leaving her perspective open to be moved is not only impressive, but should be admired. So I am more than thrilled that she's taking on this position on the CRC, and I think it's a great choice. So thank you.
All right. If there are no other comments, Clerk Legavo, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Rogers.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Next, I'm going to take things a little bit out of order. Yeah, you can clap. There's some special folks that are on a delayed train for the proclamation for Pride Month, so I'd like to give them a few extra minutes. And I'd like to start with the proclamation declaring June 2025 as African American Music Month. And if I could get Juan Woodbury to join me up here in the front, that'd be great. Juan is a resident. He is also named a Fortune 500 company, and he's probably developed a major ad campaign for them. Name a celebrity, and he's probably worked with them. When he's not traveling internationally, he is with his wonderful kids and his beautiful wife. He takes gorgeous photos of them and their friends at our community events, and he shares them. And these are priceless photos. You make a lot of money taking photos of people, and you're just giving them away and really highlighting some of the most beautiful parts of our village. He's also a 2023 Grammy winner. He was the producer of Jay Ivy's spoken word album, which is just so impressive. Oh, look, and we have a photo up there. There he is. We're very lucky today to be joined by Juan Woodbury for this proclamation. Thank you. Whereas June is the 46th anniversary of African American Music Month, which was created by President Jimmy Carter in 1979. And whereas, as we commemorate African American Music Month, we must pay homage to legends of American music who have composed the soundtrack of American life. And whereas much of African American music is rooted in African rhythms, coupled with the experience of slavery and struggle in America. Far from expressing themselves in their native tongues, enslaved people developed a language to articulate their hopes, dreams, sense of loss, and tenacity to overcome the harrowing nature of their lives. And whereas today, the creative ways that African American music tells stories of trial and triumph in American life continue to move us all to understand the common struggles of humanity. Spiritual, gospel, folk, the blues, R&B, rock and roll, jazz, pop, rap, hip-hop, and more have molded American culture and given rise to new American art forms, emulated around the globe. And whereas this month we honor and celebrate the songs and artists that challenge us to think critically, stand up to injustice, and believe in ourselves, we recommit to expanding the promise of dignity and opportunity for all residents, and we revel in the sound, spirit, and soul of some of the very best music ever created. Now, therefore, I, Michelle Nelson, Mayor of Flossmoor, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2025 as African American Music Month, and encourage Flossmoor residents to learn about the history of African American Music Month and observe this month by honoring African American musicians and raising awareness and appreciation of African American music. Thank you. Nicole's pretty good at photography. Look at your photos. Where are you off to next? Cans?
Yeah.
Just cans. Okay, cans by cans. Okay, good. Thank you for making a stop for us. Next, do we have Delila? Is Delila? You wore the shirt. Please welcome Delila Breedy and Elizabeth Knight. She wore the shirt. She did. We always plan. They hosted the first ever Flossmoor Pride brunch a couple of weeks ago. They have done amazing things for marriage equality here in the state of Illinois. They were at the forefront of that effort and are doing amazing things here in the village. Also helping out for Flossmoor history too, and other events that we have throughout the village. And if I could get anybody who wants to join them up here on stage, please do that.
Flossmoor has a good LGBT community.
One that we're very proud of.
Yes.
Thank
We're
you.
growing all the time. Yes, we're growing all the time. Hi, Roland. Thank you, Mayor, for doing this. This is great. Who would have thought that a small, moving to a small community like this, and look at this. This is wonderful. I mean, we're used to going down to Springfield and lobbying for our rights, and we moved here, Elizabeth and I moved here almost 3 years ago now, and the first thing we saw in June was the Pride flags. I'm like, what the heck, they do that here? And we met Mayor Michelle. We love Mayor Michelle. We've supported Mayor Michelle. She supported our community. And I'm so glad. So as Mayor Michelle said, we hosted our first LGBT Flossmoor, only Flossmoor brunch 3 weeks ago, a month ago. And we were about 30 of us, and we were missing 4, Andrea and Beth. But yeah, thank you for welcoming us to this beautiful community, and we can't wait to do more.
Well said. Whereas June is the 46th anniversary. Oh, wait, wrong one. Okay. Thank you.
No, we're 51 years.
51 years, almost. Woo! Yeah. Okay, whereas Flossmoor is a community steeped in history and energized by diversity and inclusion in all its forms. And whereas Flossmoor displays the LGBT pride flag as a symbol for the LGBTQ plus community, strengthening the bonds of solidarity, celebrating our differences, and promoting social progress of the LGBTQ plus community in the South Suburbs. And whereas, while the Stonewall riots in 1969 transformed the gay and lesbian movement in the United States, whereby equal rights were sought for the LGBT community, leading to justice, inclusion, opportunity, and acceptance. We also recognize that many individuals in the LGBTQ plus community continue to live in fear and pain and experience violence, including the LGBTQ plus youth who disproportionately suffer from self-harm and suicide. And whereas people of color and transgender individuals within the LGBTQ plus community are especially vulnerable to acts of discrimination, and whereas during Pride Month we honor the resilience of LGBTQ plus people, and we recommit to our values that individuals of the LGBTQ plus community have the ability to live authentically, freely, and safely in Flossmoor. And whereas, as we commemorate Pride Month, it is important to celebrate the contributions of the LGBTQ plus community in every endeavor of American life, including science, medicine, arts and entertainment, politics, and so many other fields. And whereas the Village of Flossmoor is a community where all belong, and the LGBTQ plus community has support through churches, schools, community groups, and nonprofits dedicated to their needs. Now, therefore, I, Michelle Nelson, Mayor of Flossmoor, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2025 as Pride Month, and encourage not only during the month of June, but throughout the year that Flossmoor residents learn about the struggles and achievements of the LGBTQ plus community that have shaped our history, and to practice the values of acceptance and inclusion within the Flossmoor community, so that Flossmoor's LGBTQ plus residents know Flossmoor is a community to call home. On June 20th, from 5 to 9, we have our Pride event, which is a big party at Irwin Park in Homewood. It's a collaboration with the HF Park District and Village of Homewood, and it's really just nice to bring everybody together. It's a big party, great bands, great food, great entertainment, so hope to see you all there.
Thank you.
All right, now I will call for folks who signed in to speak, the public address. First off on the list, I have Dean Armstrong. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Dean Armstrong. My wife Carolyn owns Flossmoor Station Restaurant and Brewery. I am Vice President and General Counsel, and so to the Village Board, Mayor Michelle, dedicated village staff, concerned Flossmoor residents, good to see you all. I would appreciate a few minutes of your time to speak about the agenda item on expanding the use of food trucks for the central business district of downtown Flossmoor. We oppose that for three fundamental reasons. Number one, to preserve the charm and character of downtown Flossmoor, central business district. Number two, fundamental fairness. Number three, not exacerbating the difficult parking situation that already exists. The central business district of downtown Flossmoor is unique and charming. I think we can all agree upon that. You look around, you go to the island in the center of the village and look around the beautiful historic buildings, a new library, blends in with the theme of the rest of the village of downtown, a refurbished train station, the storefronts, almost all of them are full. Real estate values are going up, and too few parking spaces. But despite the few parking spaces, the central business district of downtown Flossmoor was thriving. But it wasn't always that way. You rewind this tape 29 years ago, virtually all the stores downtown were vacant. It was a dilapidated, rundown train station. There was a musty and out-of-date library, and there were too many parking spaces. Too many parking spaces because new businesses and customers weren't coming to downtown Flossmoor. But now, because of the wise stewardship of your predecessors, hardworking village staff, look at how far we've come. Just look at how far we've come. But it didn't happen by accident. It happened because of dedicated village board members, dedicated village staff, concerned citizens showing up at meetings like this, and it's all worked out just fine. My concern about expanding the use of food trucks in downtown Flossmoor are that it just wouldn't be consistent with what you all have done, your predecessors have done for so many years, to preserve the uniqueness and the charm of the central business district of downtown Flossmoor. As I said, the library color scheme matches the station's color scheme. All the buildings work together, it all blends together. Everything is uniform, works just fine. While food trucks may be fine for many other communities, may be fine for other locations in Flossmoor, they're just not the right fit for the central business district of downtown Flossmoor. The second reason why we oppose it is fundamental fairness. Flossmoor Station pays over $40,000 a year in real estate taxes. A large part of those real estate taxes go toward maintaining the parking spaces in downtown Flossmoor. The other business owners as well combined pay over $100,000 of real estate taxes. The residents of Flossmoor pay real estate taxes. Those taxes go toward preserving and maintaining the parking spaces in downtown Flossmoor. The businesses that have invested the funds to locate in downtown Flossmoor have a vested interest in those parking spaces. The residents of Flossmoor have a vested interest in those parking spaces. Everyone knows that it's so very more enjoyable to pull up in front of a business and walk into there than circling around and around and around looking for a vacant parking space. From a fundamental fairness standpoint, it just doesn't seem fair that we've invested $3.5 million into the refurbishing of the dilapidated rundown train station into a microbrewery that citizens of Flossmoor can be proud of. It just doesn't seem fair that you can have a food truck roll in and pay without rent, take those valuable parking spaces. The third reason why we oppose it is exacerbating the existing parking situation. This is a fact that most of you may not know. We have 80 employees. We pay $8,000 for parking spaces in the metro lot. So this 80 employees don't take up valuable parking spaces in downtown Flossmoor. Some may call that foolish. I call it a wise investment in a community that we love. The businesses in downtown Flossmoor would not be able to prosper if the parking spaces are tied up. So on behalf of my wife, Carolyn, and me, the 60 employees of Flossmoor Station, concerned Flossmoor residents, I strongly encourage the board not to allow further food trucks to come rolling into the central business district of downtown Flossmoor. Thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and thank you for your dedication to public service. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Armstrong. Next I have Miss Ashley Giddens. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to voice my support for revising our current food truck policy to allow for the regular operation within the village of Flossmoor. Food trucks have the potential to invigorate our local economy by attracting visitors, increasing foot traffic, and creating opportunities for local entrepreneurs. They provide a wide range of affordable, diverse culinary options, making dining more accessible for all residents. In many communities, food trucks also serve as incubators for small businesses, helping aspiring chefs build a customer base before transitioning to a brick-and-mortar location. We've already seen the positive impact of food trucks during Flossmoor Fest, National Night Out and Touch a Truck. They brought energy, convenience, and variety, contributing to a fun and festive environment for families. Allowing food trucks more regularly throughout the year could help replicate that success, further enhancing community engagement and enriching the Flossmoor experience. The village's recent decision to update zoning to allow for film production shows a shift towards forward-thinking, creative, economic development. That decision signaled a readiness to try new ideas that could benefit Flossmoor's visibility and growth. Permitting food trucks is a natural next step in that same direction, further positioning Flossmoor as a welcoming and innovative community that supports diverse economic opportunities. While I understand the concerns about potential competition with existing restaurants, research shows that food trucks often complement, not compete with local establishments. They increase overall foot traffic and encourage exploration of nearby businesses. With clear and fair regulations, such as designated areas, consistent health and safety standards, we can create a balanced framework where both food trucks and traditional restaurants thrive. Permitting food trucks in Flossmoor reflects our village's value of innovation and support for small business. It's a practical step towards fostering economic growth, celebrating diversity, and bringing our community together. I respectfully urge the board to consider updating our policies to support this exciting opportunity. Thank you again for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Giddens. Next I have Donnie Jackson. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Nelson and members of the Village Board. My name is Donnie Staten, and I'm here on behalf of my mother, Pam Jackson, who is a Flossmoor resident, business owner, and active member of this community. She's currently out of town and unable to attend tonight's meeting, but she asked me to read this statement into the record on her behalf. Last month, my mother submitted a letter expressing concerns about equity, tone, and the lack of assistance she received from village management while trying to navigate the food truck ordinance. That letter is included in tonight's packet, and she hopes her voice was heard and taken seriously. She also wanted to respond to the 2 letters submitted by downtown restaurant owners who opposed allowing food trucks in Flossmoor Central Business District. While she respects the investment those owners have made, she believes their concerns only tell part of the story. Let's begin with this. The bistro on Sterling is currently closed. Its closure is a reminder that times are changing and downtown Flossmoor needs new energy and ideas to remain vibrant. Food trucks aren't the enemy, they're a bridge to what's next. They draw people in, activate unused space, and serve as a launch pad for the next generation of entrepreneurs. My mother is the owner of Dip and Double, an ice cream truck inspired by her twin sons. She's not a pop-up outsider, she's a Flossmoor resident who pays taxes here, shops here, raises her children here, and wants to contribute to her community through business. She pays for her licenses, insurance, and health inspections like any other vendor. She doesn't seek to compete, she seeks to complement the downtown experience. We believe this conversation goes beyond food trucks. This is about access and equity, about who gets to build in this community and who's supported when they do. Brick and mortar business owners have benefited from decades of village support. Food truck owners, many of whom are women and people of color, are often excluded by default from those same systems. That's why this ordinance matters. And let's not forget, the village's own economic development policy encourages supporting businesses that activate underutilized spaces, contribute to Flossmoor's identity as a destination for shopping, dining, and entertainment, and foster inclusive and high quality development. Food trucks check all of those boxes. Even your own community engagement manager, in a memo dated May 29, stated that food trucks have become vital partners in local events, particularly when brick and mortar restaurants don't participate due to timing, capacity, or interest. So here's an ask. Don't protect the past, make room for the future. Create thoughtful, fair policies that give all small businesses a chance to thrive. We're not asking for handouts, we're asking for a seat at the table, or at least a chance to park on the curb. On her behalf, I ask you to consider a policy that reflects equity, innovation, and collaboration, not protectionism and fear. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Next up, Ms. Jenny Curtis. Welcome.
Jenny Curtis, 608 Bruce. Good evening. I'm here tonight in support of making a way for mobile food trucks to conduct business in Flossmoor. While living in Flossmoor, I've heard time and time again that small businesses are vital and prioritized in the community. I've seen the articles that give the optics that Flossmoor would like to be an up-and-coming hub for small businesses. I've also seen many small businesses end as quickly, if not quicker, than they began. I also know that making changes in Flossmoor ordinances is no small feat. It took a referendum to allow pickup trucks in driveways, and it didn't matter how many signatures were collected for above-ground pools, it wasn't happening. What I have witnessed over the last few years of observing and interacting at board meetings is that the trustees have the ability to inhibit or push for change to allow Flossmoor to actually become the inclusive space it is advertised to be. I hope that this will be the case with some fresh eyes, ears, and perspectives on the board. Something beyond business as usual. It is my opinion that food trucks in today's landscape offer families options to grab and go outside of a required sit-down experience and tend to be a more personable alternative to quick fast food drive-thrus. Often, they have a few specialized items on their menus that differ from the brick and mortar restaurants. It is my understanding that Homewood has a clear pathway for mobile food trucks to operate and somehow keeps a robust restaurant and small business atmosphere in and around their downtown area. Having multiple options makes it appealing for people to visit and know they and their family members will likely find something they would enjoy or would add to their day's experience in the area. In Flossmoor, there is a limited number of choices. Our family often frequents places outside of our town because of this. While there is a large budget going towards an outside study to find the right businesses for Flossmoor, I would encourage the village not to lose sight of the gems right under their noses. And while I stand here wearing a Dip and Double shirt, please know that I do not work for them in any way, but I fully support them. Not only is the ice cream delicious, the truck aesthetically brilliant, but the Flossmoor family running it has authentically shown up in this town to build and support community here from the inside out. Pam Jackson, the owner of Dip and Double, is on the board of HF High School, where she spends her time free of charge to facilitate growth for our students. She has walked alongside many in this community, rallied for positive change and impact in both word and deed. Some of the very first business decisions that she made were made with the community in mind, as she has collaborated with local businesses and residents to make that mission clear. It is essential that the village board take a sobering look at the contradictory ordinances that hinder small businesses and community-minded residents from being able to move forward. If this town is ever to become what it advertised to be, then make an inclusive pathway. Support small businesses, not monopolies, not scarcity mentalities. Be open to creative entrepreneurship. So, I ask you, trustees, Does bringing community and small businesses together to elevate one another beautify Flossmoor? I think it does. I hope you do too.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis. Sharon Lombardi, welcome.
Thank you to the mayor, the trustees, and my fellow Flossmoor citizens for allowing me to speak tonight. I wanted to address the changes to the food truck policy as well. And it's my understanding that the proposed changes to the food truck policy are not for major fleets of food trucks to be coming into Flossmoor, but concern themselves with one ice cream truck in the village of Flossmoor, who is asked to sell here. And I think it's that they, and I could be wrong, they've asked to sell in the streets. Because this food establishment has raised concerns among our local restaurants, I just did a little spot check survey of who sells ice cream. Ice cream is one of my favorite treats during the summer. I consider it the Lord's food, along with donuts. And when looking at who sells ice cream in Central Flossmoor, as I understand it, Dunning sells our Lingo's gelato, so you can get cups of that, and that's from a neighboring community. The station sells ice cream if you're inside sitting down and ordering one of their delicious desserts, and they occasionally open the caboose in August for ice cream. And I think, but cannot swear, that the convenience store on Flossmoor Road across the street sells ice cream. The restaurant owners that wrote a letter concerning their property taxes. I don't know whether to say boo-hoo or cry me a river. We all pay extremely high taxes in Flossmoor. It is the price for the privilege of living and doing business in a village such as ours. I have no children, I've never had children, they have never benefited from the excellent educational system we have here in HF that a lot of our taxes go to, but I'm proud that that money goes to our excellent education system. Last summer, in August, I work at home, well, all the time, I work at home about 50% of the time. It was hot, it was August, it had been a horrible summer. I'm an artist, I had lost about 50% of my lifetime's worth of work in the flood that resulted from the tornado, and then we had those darn cicadas that just ruined June. I was sitting on a conference call looking out my front window, and the ice cream truck came down the street. And it was so delightful to see my neighbors and friends and their children lining up and getting a cone or an ice cream bar, and then lingering for a few minutes to talk to each other in the middle of the heat and just have fun. I grew up in a community that did not allow ice cream trucks, and it stunk. A week later, I heard the song again of the ice cream truck, and I was so glad I had $5 in my pocket, and I went out and I got a chocolate eclair bar, and I talked to my neighbors for a few minutes, and it was only maybe 15 minutes long, but I came back and I had such a wonderful sense of community. And I said, God, I love this town. So I wish that the board would consider how they look at their food truck policy. I don't think we're looking for chains. I don't think we're looking for a fleet of food trucks to come into Flossmoor, though many food trucks, if you look at Los Angeles, have become Michelin star restaurants in later days. But I would think about how you judge a business that's coming into Flossmoor, what the food truck means, what its size is it part of a chain, is it an individual operator? And please let the ice cream truck continue its business through Flossmoor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next I have Jen and Chris Zarazny. Did you want to talk now, or do you want to wait till your agenda item? Did you have something to comment on?
Yeah,
then we'll wait until your agenda item. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Ms. Andrea Perry, welcome.
Good evening, Andrea Perry. Fail to plan, plan to fail. I want to commend and thank the Village Board for having the 2017 to 2021 and the 2022 to 2026 strategic plans. I want to commend and thank Trustee Mustafa for her inquiry on the status of the current strategic plan at the April 7th board meeting and bringing it back to our much needed attention. I want to thank the board and village manager for the update on the strategic plan status at the last board meeting. I want to thank the village manager for providing the plan and subsequent updates on the website and encouraging us to review them. It is critical and crucial for the board and management to use this strategic plan as a map to guide us to where we are to go and to implement it. The strategic plan identifies the desired destination, where we want to go and be. And it is critical and crucial for the board to use it routinely to assess and determine if their actions are truly resulting in taking us to or away from the desired strategic goals. Being an engaged Flossmoor constituent this past year, it is my opinion that the village board and management avoid analysis and assessment of their performance. In comparing it to a baseball game, they want to claim, promote, broadcast all of their hits without assessing where the ball actually landed. They fail to examine and question where the ball went in regards to where it was supposed to go and the timing of it going there. Worse of all, they turn a blind eye to their misses. They fail to recognize, acknowledge, assess, and plan corrective measures for these misses, including missed opportunities. I was disappointed with both updates on the 2022-20 to 2026 strategic plan, solely citing major achievements without any mention of misses or unsuccesses, and devoid of using objective performance measures. It's not helpful and can be misleading, even detrimental. Under the strategic goal of inclusivity, foster a united and engaged community, major misses are the handling of the police shooting of Madeline Miller, the handling of the racial harassment of IJP Principal Felicia Cloteworthy, the handling of Police Chief Jarrell Jones, the handling of the Heather Hill Detention Basin, the handling of the hiring of Police Chief Jarrell Jones' replacement. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you look at the photo under Section 5, staff of the 2023 strategic update, I ask, inclusivity? How so? Where is it? These significant misses need to be addressed and corrective measures need to be determined and implemented. Definitely under looking ahead and impending projects, these misses should be included. Under the strategic goal of staff, promote excellence in service delivery, it's no question and without doubt we have a small group of dedicated village employees who work hard and long hours. I appreciate and commend them for all that they do. The village owes it to them that their efforts, their hits, are going in the right direction and reaching the appropriate place to reach the desired goal, to win the game. Thank you.
Next I have Mother Dana. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Nelson, trustees, community residents. My name is Valencia Dantzler, better known by my stage name Mother Diva, and I am a community activist and a community safety advocate, as well as the official Madam Ambassador of House and Electronic Dance Music. And first, I would like to congratulate and welcome our new trustees, Mr. Kevin Dorsey and Ms. Carolyn Rogers. I am positive that they both have impeccable experience and I know that they will benefit our community. I also would like to acknowledge the official re-election of our mayor, Michelle Nelson. I wish you the best for your next 4 years in office. I only have 2 comments, and they're referring to street signs. There is a sign on Dixie Highway that reads, Flossmoor's population as 9,500. That sign has been there since Moses was in kindergarten. So I am requesting that the sign be updated with the correct population. My second comment is about the sign that is on Levitt and Hawthorne. The sign that reads Levitt is very rusted, as well as the Hawthorne sign. And because we are such a beautiful community, it would do us a disservice to have such beautiful homes with raggedy signs. So I'm requesting those signs be updated. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mother Diva. And it's actually kind of ironic because I was having the same thought about that population sign. So thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. And we will look into the Levitt and Hawthorne sign. There's a rotational sign replacement that Public Works does annually, and so we'll see where that is on the list. That's all I have for public comment. Next up is the consent agenda. I'm going to pull number 4, the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on May 19th from the agenda, and we'll postpone that until the next meeting. That was in the electronic packet that was sent out to the board, but it wasn't contained in this board packet that was available at the entry or posted on our website. So we're going to table the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on May 19th until next meeting. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve consent agenda items number 5, 6, and 7.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Is there anything anybody would like to pull? Seeing none, Clerk Galvo, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Dorsey.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Rogers.
Yes.
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Next up, can I get a motion to approve a resolution of the Village of Flossmoor, Cook County, Illinois, approving a purchase agreement with Axon Enterprises?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. And presenting, I have Chief Carl Stout. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees, and community members. Hope that's better. As we continue to improve our technology and upgrade our equipment, I want to remind you all of our technology bundle agreement with Axon Enterprise. Under this agreement, it allows us to purchase tasers, body-worn cameras, and in-car camera video systems. They will be able to work together. They will be able to communicate well together as we store the data all in one cloud-based system, therefore making it easy to access for evidence or FOIA requests or things like that. They'll all be in one location. Also to remind you all that we did purchase the tasers. Part of a grant that we had was that we had to purchase those tasers prior to May 1st. So we did that, and that was Axon Enterprise Pacific. We had to purchase the tasers from that company. Now as we move forward, we are moving to the phase 2, which is the body-worn cameras. Our body-worn cameras, in general, they have a shelf life of about 2.5 to 3 years. We purchased our body-worn cameras in 2022. When we got those cameras, when they were new, the battery would last about 9 hours, which would make it through the shift. Now they currently last about 6 hours. Therefore, they have to come back in and either change out a battery, or they also have to be careful when they're trading and changing these cameras to the other officers, because we only have 15. So there's not quite enough to always go around because we can't charge them while they're out there being used. The new batteries will last about 13 hours. Under this new contracting agreement with Axon, we would get a refresh of hardware after 2.5 years, where we would send the units in and they would replace the hardware free of charge. It's really part of the agreement. So therefore, it would be working as a brand new camera again, so we should be able to get about 5 years out of these cameras at least. Therefore, that's why I'm asking, and we also, we received $40,000 in a grant, a matching grant for body-worn cameras. So this is why I'm asking that we be able to purchase 25 body-worn cameras. This will allow for each officer to be responsible for his or her camera. Therefore, we won't have to share them and trade them during the shifts and after shifts and things like that. Therefore, we'll always have enough cameras and we'll have a couple in reserve. We also have to outfit our CSO officers and our detectives with cameras. So as you all know, we're allowed 21 officers, but we also have to have the CSOs, it's 3 of them, and it would be nice to have one, at least one in reserve if something goes down. Any questions?
The village attorney had a good idea because it happens. Because of the conversation for the in-car cameras is related to the body-worn cameras, I'm going to ask for a motion to also approve the resolution of the Village of Flossmoor, Cook County, Illinois, approving a purchase agreement with Axon Enterprises for the in-car cameras, and then let you present on that, and then trustees can answer questions or ask questions about both. Does that make sense?
It's a package.
Yes.
It's a package.
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve a resolution of the Village of Flossmoor, Cook County, Illinois, approving a purchase agreement with Axon Enterprises for the in-car camera?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you so much. Floor is yours.
And now as we talk about the in-car camera system, the shelf life for an in-car camera system is about 5 years. We purchased ours prior to 2014. So they're still struggling to work. It's very hard to get footage from these cameras, from the data, but we're doing the best we can. But like I said, the shelf life is about 5 years. So we believe it's time to replace those since we did purchase them prior to 2014. Also with Axon Enterprise, after 5 years, we will be able to send these in, the camera systems, and they will also get a refresh of hardware. And this should also, we hope we should get probably 10 years out of it if we do the refresh and hardware for that as well. And all of this together, we will be working under one cloud-based system to store all the data versus a third-party system, which is more expensive and is not always accessible and doesn't always play well with all the software and data that we try to store for them. So therefore, I'm asking permission that we purchase 8 in-car camera video systems. We currently have 5. We have more cars than that. We've just been unable to have cameras in these cars. It's something that we just did not prepare for years ago.
Great, thank you so much. Questions or comments? I'll start with Trustee Yearday.
Thank you for presenting on this. A couple questions. When they do the refresh on the units, are they going to give you loaners so that there's no gap in service of the cameras?
No, we're going to send in half at a time.
Half at a time. Okay, so for a time will
Yes.
be down cameras while they refresh
Yes.
it. Okay, and then that refresh is not included in what we're paying for the cameras. There'll be an additional charge when those get refreshed.
No, that's included.
That's included. Okay. And then I would assume that since our vehicle cameras are 2014, I would imagine that the clarity and the megapixel rating on the new cameras would be much, much better.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense to me. You guys have to have the tools that are necessary, and a lot of these things are also considered public safety items as well. So it's safety for both the officers and the community. So, and these are, again, unfunded mandates, so we have to pay for it. But this all makes sense. I appreciate the presentation and the work on this. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Dorsey.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
I heard a couple of things. I heard that on the in-car cameras, with the refresh, you got about a 10-year life on those.
Yes.
Right? And on the body-worn with the refresh is about a total of 5 years.
Yes.
In between that timeline, is there warranties and things of that nature in case one has to be replaced due to malfunction?
Yes, we do have a warranty, and it's included in a package. The contract is included. I'm not sure how long the warranty is, but there's a warranty.
Okay, great. And the technology itself, in comparison to what other law enforcement entities use, is this the latest technology? Are we still behind a little bit? Does this catch us up?
This will catch us up. The company that we were using, we've had a lot of problems over the years with them, and not so much the company, but the machines. Using the machines, being able to get data and video footage has been very difficult. And a lot of the people in different agencies, when we're talking about this conversation, they were surprised that we aren't already with Axon. So Axon is kind of like the leader in this. So, and like I said, it's been part of a package deal with all this technology as well.
All for it. I think it's a necessary part of what it is you do. So good work, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lofton.
Chief Estelle, thank you for the presentation. We heard from you and Exxon before, and I'm convinced with their service agreement, with their proven technology, and their ability to, with timing with these grants, it only makes sense that we go ahead and continue our service with them. So thank you for reminding us of that, and I totally agree with this.
Thank you, Trustee Rogers.
No, not really any questions, so I'm familiar with Axon, because what my husband does, but I did want to add, just for clarification's sake, so that everyone else is aware, in terms of best practices and what other police forces are using, you mentioned before that Exxon is the one that most of them are using as a best practice. Is that correct?
Yes, and as we started that off, that's with tasers. So if you're going to do this package, first of all, with tasers, to purchase tasers, they're the main company that can sell the tasers. There's another company, but they don't even have them for sale yet. They haven't. The product isn't good enough to sell yet, so we have to go with Axon Enterprise for tasers.
And then the other question that I had in terms of a monetary package, because people want to know cost in comparison to some of the other companies out there. What makes this the better package to utilize versus what the other companies are offering?
I think the accessibility, the fact that we're going to be able to store all this data in one cloud-based system is a definite plus. Where if we don't do that and we have separate companies, we're going to have separate storage, clouds. It'll be very difficult to manage and to access these different forms of data from different cloud services if they don't communicate with each other. It's best to get one where they all communicate together, same company, and all of this is from Axon, so it's the best, it is the best practice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mustafa.
Other trustees have asked the questions I would have had, but I wanted to ask a little bit about the redaction process. Do you have to have a full-time person on staff to do that?
No, we don't. No.
Okay.
We'll have people who are trained. Several officers will be trained to be our experts from Axon. They will train us so that we don't have to. In the past, we had to hire outsiders to come in to do just what you mentioned, but we'll be able to do it ourselves.
Okay. But I don't want to misunderstand. You've been doing that, right? Because
We've been struggling to do that.
Okay. I know the state requires that you do that. Okay.
Yes.
The other question I had was, is there any, knowing that this is a package and the best practice or the most frequent practice is to use Axon, are you feeling satisfied with the training they provide regarding redaction?
Well, we're not using Axon yet.
Okay.
We have the tasers. We purchased it, but they're coming, you know. But yeah, so they haven't been training us yet.
Do you have any feedback from other departments as to their training?
You know, I'm going by my personal conversations, myself and the commander. We've had conversations, hours and hours of conversations with them, and I'm very convinced that they will come through with what they say they're going to do, because not only do they want this business now, they want this business in the future, and those new departments who don't have it, they want the word to be able to say, go over to Flossmoor if you have any questions, because, you know, we're the latest and greatest.
All right, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Trustee Mitros.
Well, it's a crazy world out there, and this is a must-have, I think. And we have to, we have the latest and greatest, because not only, I think George said, it protects our citizens, protects our police officers too. So we can't accept failures with this equipment. So I'm glad we're moving forward, and I support it.
All right, if there are no other comments, I'm going to ask Clerk Logalvo to call the roll on action items 8 and 9 to approve purchase agreement with Axon Enterprises, Inc. for both body-worn cameras and in-car cameras.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Rogers.
Yes.
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. And Village Manager Wachtel just let me know that if you all looked at the electronic copy of the packet that was sent to you and you saw the minutes there, we can vote on it tonight. So did everybody read the minutes in the electronic packet that was emailed? No? Okay, so we'll keep that tabled till the next meeting. All right, thank you. Next up, we have discussion items. First of all, discussion for a request for economic incentive and liquor license for Beyond Borders Cafe. And we have Jen and Chris Laroffey here tonight to be with us for the presentation and to ask any questions that you might have. First of all, Village Manager Bridget Wachtel is going to introduce it, and then we'll turn it over to trustees for questions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Zarosny, the owners of Beyond Borders Cafe, which has entered into a 5-year lease at 1036 Sterling Avenue to operate an artisan coffee shop with a light food menu. The item before you this evening is 2 parts. One with respect to an economic development incentive for the improvements that need to be made to bring the interior of the building up to code, as well as their request for a beer and wine on-premise consumption license to be able to serve beer and wine in the evenings. Beyond Borders Cafe plans to operate from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. They are located in the B5 zoning district, which permits coffee shops, and the location is suitable for the business. As I mentioned, they are making a significant investment in the location to not only meet their business needs, but also meet the various codes as a dining establishment of at least 25 patrons. Our building department staff met with the owners to review the required work. As a result of that, one of the requirements will be to operate with 2 ADA compliant bathrooms. The current bathroom will need to be converted and the second bathroom will need to be constructed. Their request is for an economic incentive to construct the second ADA compliant bathroom and an open site drain behind the counter in the amount of approximately $17,400. They claim they have advised the village, but for the village's assistance, the project is not viable. As I mentioned, the Zarosnys are putting a significant investment into the building itself, about 5 times the request that they have before you this evening. In comparing their incentive request to the village's economic development policy, we see that it meets several of the criteria and goals as established within that policy, including preserving or expanding the village's property tax and sales tax base, attracting business to high priority sites, encouraging high quality commercial development in the village's primary business corridors, furthering the village's reputation as a destination for shopping, dining, and entertainment, the use of vacant or underutilized properties, fulfillment of an underserved business segment. The village's risk in providing the incentive and its return on its investment in our determination is minimal. We are also looking at being able to improve the property that has been vacant for a significant period of time. The subject property is located in the downtown TIF district. As of April 30th, the revenue in the TIF is approximately $93,000. Village Attorney Kathy Orr advises that the request is an allowable TIF expense, as these improvements will be fixtures to the property. If the board is agreeable to the incentive being approved, staff suggests that 3 contractors bid on the work, that we construct an economic development agreement that would require that the incentive be made following the construction as a reimbursable to the business owners. The second part of the request is with respect to a liquor license to serve wine and beer. As you know, we do not keep liquor licenses on the shelf, and in fact, when it comes to on-premise consumption, the current classifications do not include a beer wine only license, so that would have to be drafted and included within code, and at the same time, one license be granted for Beyond Borders Cafe. Again, if the board is agreeable to the request, the village attorney will draft that code amendment and it will be presented at the following meeting. The other item that I will bring to the board's attention is that by granting a liquor license for consumption on premise, a video gaming license becomes an administrative process and would not be back before the village board. However, the board has had conversations with other business owners and has previously restricted video gaming within a liquor license classification, which you would be able to do should you desire. And with that, I will turn it back over to the mayor and to the business owners if they would like to make any sort of presentation.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Back in 2023, we had the foresight of including our entire central business district in the TIF. Which means that we can use TIF funds for TIF eligible expenses, and we did that so that we could help preserve the charm of our downtown and some problems that we're having that are very expensive problems to fix. Village Manager Wachtel, after seeing the request, had the thought of perhaps being able to get this money from our TIF, which the funds have started to build up, which was a great idea, thank you. And Village Attorney Kathy Orr verified that that was allowed according to the TIF Act. So thank you to staff for those recommendations. This business is already improving the look of our downtown. I don't know if you've been by the building lately, but as part of their lease agreement, they asked that the landlord paint the outside of the building. It was looking absolutely terrible. The paint job is done. It looks beautiful, and there's a new awning coming as well, so thank you for that. This checks just about every box for our economic development incentives. And then also, it's not an outrageous request. It's very much in line with what Dunning's requested in 2018, so very reasonable. Do you have any plans to do gaming? Are you looking for that?
No, I'm sorry, apologize my voice, but no, we do not, it does not fit our business model, so we're not going to be looking for that.
Thank you. Did you want to say anything before the board asks questions? Did you want to make a presentation?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Christopher Zarozny. This is my wife, Jennifer, and I wanted to thank Mr. Mayor and the Honorable Miss Mayor, sorry. See, this is my voice. That's what it plays tricks on everybody. And the honorable board members and the village residents for giving us time to come here and present this opportunity. Pretty much our request has been summed up, but to conclude both issues, I just wanted to sum up the ADA bathroom and the floor drain request. So basically, in conclusion of everything that was stated, the addition of the ADA compliant bathroom and the open site drain at Beyond Borders Cafe will enhance the accessibility, operational efficiency, and community value, aligning with the Village of Flossmoor Economic Incentive Program objectives. By funding 100% of the $17,400 project cost, the village can deliver a significant public benefit while supporting a small business in its growth stages. This investment will yield long-term economic returns through increased revenue, job creation, which at the beginning we're projecting 2 management positions and 10 regular employees when the business starts going. And of course, improved commercial landscape in downtown Flossmoor. We look forward to partnering with the village and bring this project to fruition. As far as the liquor license, our plan is to open the coffee shop as a coffee shop to begin with, and eventually transition into more of a multi-faceted operation when the liquor license is available, thus serving addition of beer and wine in our facility. At the beginning, our shop will be open from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., accommodating the metro commuters that are obviously catching the very early trains starting around 4:30 in the morning. So we will be there to accommodate that traffic. Eventually, the liquor license is going to expand our hours of operation. We're thinking up to 10 p.m. at the latest, and open up more opportunity for our residents to enjoy another spot that will be conducive for meetings, relaxing, chatting, of course, experiencing that in a very unique, cozy environment. I'm sure all of you will definitely enjoy what we are planning on for that space. So in conclusion, for the liquor license, obtaining the wine and beer license for Beyond Borders Cafe and expanding service to include these offerings will transform the cafe into a versatile social hub, meeting Flossmoor's need for evening gathering space while driving significant revenue growth. The addition aligns with the community's affluent demographics, fills a market gap, and supports Flossmoor's goal of fostering high-quality commercial development. With a projected $35,720 net profit in year one and a $5,985 annual sales tax revenue for the village, this expansion is a win-win for both Beyond Borders Cafe and Flossmoor. We are eager to move forward with this initiative and contribute to the vibrancy of downtown Flossmoor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you understand, just to make sure that this would be, we've required 3 bids for the work that we are reimbursing you for, and it's not just a blank check, it's a reimbursement for the work that's done on those 2 parts of the project.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, great, thank you so much. I'll start with Trustee Lofton. Questions or comments from the board?
Thank you for the presentation, and very well done, I might add. One question I have with regard to food. Is there, do you have a food menu, and will it transition into something different in the evening?
The food, it will remain light, kind of grab and go type. Once the liquor license is approved and wine and beer is present, we will transition into providing cheese trays, small meat trays, light foods. The plan is not to turn Beyond Borders Cafe into a full blown out restaurant. The niche is going to be sort of different. We're not going to be competing with Flossmoor Station for the restaurant type environment. It's going to be a totally different setup and different vision.
Very good, very good. It's a great investment, and it comes at a time when we like to fill vacancies. So good luck with that. The plan looks very good.
Thank you.
Would you be supportive of the liquor license if we had Kathy draft one up for both the beer and wine?
I'd do it if she didn't.
Yes to both. Thank you so much. Trustee Dorsey.
Talk a little bit about the coffee beans you use. Where do you source your coffee from?
All right, so
I'm a coffee drinker. So.
Absolutely. So we did partner up with a coffee roaster from Crystal Lake called Conscious Cup. They actually source their coffees pretty much all around the world. However, the coffees that we are going to be serving are mainly from Ethiopia, Costa Rica, Panama, and such a,
you can stop there.
Yeah. So
you hit all the buttons.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a great concept. I'm a fan of the smaller coffee shops. It just makes the coffee taste better, right?
Yeah.
But no, fan of it. And yes, I am in support of the liquor license as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Day.
I have a couple of questions. The biggest one that I have, me personally, is will you be serving decaf lattes?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Because right now I have to go to either Highland, Indiana, or Mokina to get a real
Decaf.
latte. So, awesome.
Decaf espressos, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We'll have it.
So I have been in the space that you guys are taking.
Okay.
I'm a property inspector, so I've been in it a few times. So I understand how much work has to go into that space. So I think that what you're asking for is reasonable. It looks like it fits in with the incentives. So I'm totally in favor of that. With the beer and wine, is it going to be on tap or just bottles, or how are you doing the beer?
I think we're gonna do tap.
So tap is going to be the main serving type. However, we are going to be more focused on the more artisan type beers.
Got it.
You know, because not too much. There's really no competition for that, right? So, and it's a niche that we want to fill. It's the variety of products that we can provide to the community.
Okay. How long do you think that it's going to take from the time you start construction on the space to open?
Well, we have a very ambitious goal to open in July.
Okay.
We have been working feverishly in the space, so it's transforming.
Okay. I'm in favor of both. So yeah, thank you for coming and presenting to us today.
Thank you. Trustee Micros.
That used to be the old bakery building in Flossmoor. 4 o'clock in the morning, there's gonna be a bakery also.
Okay.
Because that's like
So I'll vouch for him on this one. While I'm home with the kids at 4 o'clock in the morning, he will be doing that. But we will take turns later on. But he ran the railroad, so he's used to being up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So this fits right in his schedule.
So ironically, I used to work for Canadian National Railroad about 10 years ago, and the tracks behind Flossmoor Station were under my jurisdiction. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't want that working against me.
I've been sitting in the station, trains have come through.
Yes.
So that's probably a good thing. I would suggest go to Joanne Lindholm from Fresh Starts and get all her scone recipes because she's still got them somewhere. But I wanted to comment, the TIF money is absolutely what the TIF money should be used for, doing, this type of a project. And I think that the, ADA accessible bathrooms is a perfect use for it in a commercial space like we have there. So I applaud you for that. I think the $17.5 is pretty realistic, price, so I applaud you on that. I have one question though. How come we're not going to the building owner, and how come the request is not coming from them to do the improvement?
Not unusual.
Okay.
For our business people are expending the dollars, so they are eligible for the reimbursement. And I'm sure they have to cover all of the insurance and issue requirements. And I'm sure the authority to do what they're doing is in their lease. This is more typical than we would think.
Okay, and they made it part of the lease that then the owner could have come to us?
We assume,
Okay.
The owner could have done it and then leased it to the tenant, but it's reverse way, which in practicality, this is the better way, because the actual user operator is taking charge of the rehab.
Right. And in our large TIF area where Meyer was all underground work that we used to work. So this is just perfect, and I appreciate that. I'm absolutely in favor of the concept and also the liquor license.
Thank you. Trustee Mustafa.
When my husband and I were looking for a place, I said, I just need 2 things. I need to be able to walk to coffee and walk to public transportation, the train. So now we have coffee back. And I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for presenting. I wanted to ask you, have you done this type of business before?
No. Not in food and beverage type businesses, but we've both held other companies, mostly service oriented. Therefore, we don't have any obstacles preventing us from providing the best service we can to the community. Interaction with customers is basically what we're really good at. So I think overall it benefits our personalities and our approach to the business.
Well, you have a very calm spirit, so I take you at your word.
Thank you. I usually have a very much more inviting voice too, but
He has not had a voice in 3 months.
yeah, the kids think I'm yelling at them all the time, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And please tell me what inspired you to come up with the concept and the business model.
Well, we've been here almost 4 years now, and since we got here, I'm like, there's no coffee shop, and we walk around a lot, and it just looks like this. That should be somewhere where there's a coffee shop. And one day we were going by after taking the kids to school, and the space was open, and it was like, it just made sense. It was like, we have to do this. So, now here we are asking to do it.
Well, thank you for wanting to invest in Flossmoor. You have one sink that you're putting in, and it's mentioned that it would be for the baristas. So I'm kind of curious, because if you're having light food too, how will that work with the one sink?
Well, so the actual drain, the open site drain, as required for these types of facilities, it's going to be a 3-bin sink located right behind the bar for any type of, obviously, restaurant type use. But because the open site drain has to be installed, that entails additional costs going forward.
That clarifies it. Thank you very much. That's all I have. And I do support the liquor license and the use of the drink.
Thank you. Trustee Rogers.
I'm probably the only one up here that, I'm not a coffee drinker, I'm a tea drinker. So
That's okay.
We're going to have tea.
But I do drink wine every now
Oh,
and then.
there you go. It's got to be one or the other, right?
So I'm going to ask 2 questions. One question is just so you can specify, so residents know the vision a little bit better and clearer. Because we do have some shops down there that do sell coffee and things of that nature. Give us a more clearer vision as to how your shop is different. I think I have it, but I just want to make sure that everybody else has it. Because you mentioned coffee, you mentioned light food. What do you mean by light food? And what is the atmosphere? What's the ambiance? What does that look like?
Very great question, because that's exactly how we're going to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the businesses. Once you enter Beyond Borders Cafe, first thing you're going to notice is pretty much being transformed or transported into 1930s, 1940s, and such era. It's going to be a very vintage-oriented look, very inviting, very, I would say, almost even spectacular, to the point that it's going to be amazing, right? So the experience of drinking coffee, being able to sit down on a 1920 couch and absorbing the ambience of the atmosphere is going to be what is going to attract our customers. And I'm very confident that the people that do visit the property and enjoy the atmosphere and ambience are going to be a repeat customer because of the combination of both great coffees sourced from exactly the right places, right? And combined with the interior design, it's going to be marvelous.
And in terms of, so I'm envisioning this 1920s seating. I'm envisioning the coffee. And you said light food. What do you mean by that?
Mostly grab and go type foods, charcuterie boards, muffins, cookies, scones, perhaps donuts, anything that you can enjoy with your cup of coffee. Small things.
Can you use it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am a very big sound buff, so the music is going to be exceptional.
He already picked it out.
Sometimes, Jen will put our telephone music on, and I'm like, God, that's awful.
Let me put it on.
I mean, you got to have the full range of sound, right? The very nice bass that you can hear at soft levels, the mid-range and the treble, right? So music is going to be matching the environment.
I have a venti dark horse.
Can we come over today?
I was hoping for samples.
Yep. We don't have a sink.
Well, there's a curfew. We'll have to remind them.
You know, so that is part of our objective, is to actually sort of induce lingering, you know? So
We do. I mean,
that is what we want to achieve, is create the space that people will feel
comfortable,
extremely relaxed, comfortable, and invited.
You can
And
go
then
from
the night, how is that different? What is that like now? With the
I'm
wine
sorry?
and beer, when that comes into introduction?
yeah, things will be turned down, but up, if you know what I mean.
So, you know, wine and beer, again, as I mentioned, it's just going to open up another aspect of the total vision of people being able to enjoy more than just a coffee, right? Even though that's excellent. However, adding wine and beer will, of course, produce additional revenue for the business and open it up to other customers as well. However, ultimately, it's going to be a place that will provide a multifaceted experience.
And any food during that hour?
So again, small plates, cheese, small meats, things like that. We are not charcuterie board, so we're not planning on opening up a full blown out kitchen. Just small things to pair with wine and beer.
So really a meet and greet and let's have a conversation, relaxation.
Yes.
All right. That's all that.
Would you support a beer and wine license?
Yes.
And then would you support the incentive?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, I have one more question, if you don't mind. Just for clarity, and this might be a question for you. So when it shifts over from the cafe to the beer and wine, is there age restrictions attached to their operation hours?
Yeah, not with regard to operation hours, but with regard to back to trained servers and restrictions, age, etc.
Okay, all right. Do you guys envision having like at this time it's cut off, you gotta be 21 or older, or it's not a requirement, I'm just asking, just out of curiosity.
I would.
Not that you have to make a
So,
decision
I
now, so if
mean,
you haven't figured it out, it's fine.
Having kids run around at 7 o'clock is
but
not really.
from the standpoint of trained staff, we did take that into consideration, the Bassett training and all, and all the proper licenses that we're going to have to attain. So, yes, there will be qualified of age employees handling the business and taking care of the customers.
Yeah. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
We're not going to have wine machines our way of.
No. $1.
However, I don't know if you've visited Naperville or Wine 64, where there are machines and you
got
can.
one of those in Flossmoor too.
Yeah.
It's kind of cold.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Great presentation. Village Attorney.
My
has her
directions
mark.
are incentive, provisions for the incentive with the terms the mayor has mentioned, and also ordinance creating a new class of liquor license with authority to issue one license. Then administratively, as our liquor commissioner, once that is approved by the board, you would have the authority to issue the license.
And will we have both of those ready for the next meeting?
Yes.
So we'll vote on it at the next meeting.
All right,
Thank you so
great.
much for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have a discussion item on permitting and regulating mobile food vendors. And I'm going to welcome Mr. Scott Butler, Director of our Building Department, to present.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. As you are aware, we are conducting a review of Flossmoor's regulations and ordinance regarding the operation of mobile food vendors. For discussion, after 3 members of the Board of Trustees received a request by a Flossmoor resident and wanted to hear the discussion. The village currently has zoning ordinance regulations within the business districts that require all business, serving or processing to be conducted within completely enclosed buildings, except for sidewalk sales and cafes, and off-street parking for unloading or unloading only. In residential districts, further, no commercial vehicles may be parked other than to provide a service or to make a delivery, or for the purpose of loading or unloading, and may not be parked overnight. There are two separate municipal code ordinances in addition, one that prohibits peddling in the village and one that prohibits the use of streets, sidewalks, and other public spaces as a space to display goods or merchandise for sale, except in connection with village-sponsored community events. So those current regulations prohibit mobile food vendors, including ice cream trucks, from operating on streets, highways, or public places, within business districts, or from house to house, but do not prohibit a mobile food vendor from catering an event on private property or giving permission from the property owner. Staff reviewed ordinances and regulations from 16 different municipalities and found that mobile food vendors are permitted. They are typically significant regulations with regard to sanitation, life safety inspections, permitted locations of operations, including establishing minimum distances from brick and mortar restaurants, schools, or other sensitive locations, lighting prohibited of sound application and lighting devices, external signage, tables and seating, and waste disposal. Additional restrictions or outright prohibitions have been placed on mobile ice cream trucks, meaning those that travel in neighborhoods on public streets to vend ice cream due to additional safety concerns. Some additional restrictions on ice cream trucks include maximum speed limits, the number of stops permitted in a block, no U-turns permitted or moving in reverse, and prohibition of sales to pedestrians within streets or in a vehicle. There are several communities that now permit and regulate food vendors, but there still remain municipalities, such as ours, that prohibit them within their peddling or nuisance ordinances. Should the Board of Trustees desire to permit and regulate food vendors, there are several questions to consider. Does the board want to permit mobile food vendors in both business districts and residential districts? Does the board want to distinguish between the regulation of mobile food vendors and ice cream vendors? With respect to ice cream vendors, do you want to permit them at parks and schools? Some communities do not permit them near schools and parks for the safety of children. Do you want to limit their ability to park in any zoning district, set up their business to serve for the day, or alternatively, do you want to require that they continue to be mobile except for the purpose of stopping to serve? If we permit food vendors in business districts, do you want them in all business districts, including the central business district? Parked in designated areas, so many feet from a restaurant. Time restrictions, light and music. Do you want ice cream trucks to be soliciting businesses before a certain time of day and after a certain time of night? Similar consideration should be given to mobile food vendors as well. We do have attachments within your packet from business owners, Dunning's Market and Flossmoor Station, and we've got email correspondences from Dick and Double who prompted this discussion tonight. Staff will proceed as recommended by the Board of Trustees.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the presentation and all of the work that went into this. Tonight's discussion is really a policy decision and should not be focused on a single vendor because according to legal counsel, if we allow one vendor, we have to allow all vendors. So I think that's important for the board to consider. Yes, I'm sorry.
I am very concerned with the fact that to allow ice cream, what makes ice cream better than popsicles or frozen sticks, or what makes that better than a taco? And so I have very serious concerns because if you're going to allow this formatting, we should not distinguish between A, B, or C, either one or all. This year it's ice cream that's important. 2 years from now it may be taco, I don't know, other fast food.
And can you distinguish between food vendors and t-shirt sales or tchotchke trucks? I don't know.
I think that is a reasonable distinction. The problem is if you say, okay, only food trucks, because we don't want merchandise on the street being sold. So we allow food because that is something that can be consumed right there and then and doesn't compete with businesses, which is questionable. But then the question becomes, what are food trucks? Are food trucks Maureen Moriarty from Dunnings gave a perfect example. It's a food truck. It's selling raw steaks. It's a food truck. It's selling prepared food or unprepared food. You get into when you allow food trucks, and I'm saying I have a problem with distinguishing between ice cream and other foods, but when you get into saying all food trucks, it's going to require some very significant regulation and very confusing. What is food? Do you say only pre-prepared food? Or do you say everything but unprepared food?
So my question to the board is that I want to know, do you want us to expand the presence of food trucks because we already have them in Flossmoor under certain circumstances? And if so, where would you safely put them? And some of the things that I took the board to consider tonight is one, the staff time that goes into these types of requests. And for example, just for this discussion alone, 3 staff members spent 3 days preparing this, which delayed other work that I think moves the needle more on our strategic goals that we have in terms of economic development and board operations. Other towns like Homewood, they do allow food trucks on street, very limited street parking, but they also have on-street parking that allows these food trucks to operate. We have very limited on-street parking, and it's really regulated to our downtown business district. Our roads are narrow and very windy. We do allow food trucks at special events. I think we have 5 different events that we allow them at. They're also at all of the schools for their events, not HL High School, sorry, SD 161 schools. They're also at our churches for their festivals. They're also at Flossmoor Baseball and Softball Association events, and their vendors, the folks that are there, actually donate back to Flossmoor Baseball, which is really nice. But I think that we strike a really nice balance while giving folks opportunities to grow a business, and also, most importantly, making sure that it is done safely. Our brick and mortar shops, they pay real estate taxes, they carry insurance, they beautify the community. They hire many local workers, and they spend money to meet local codes, which is all very important. Also, sadly, children have died in neighboring towns after being hit by food trucks. And most recently, a child died in April in the Detroit area. So back to my original question, and I'll ask trustees for them to weigh in. Do you want us to expand the presence of food trucks? And if so, where would you put them safely? And I'll start with comments from Trustee Minders.
I'm pretty comfortable with what we have on the books right now. I don't particularly want food trucks to be expanded. I think about the downtown, the central business district. There's no way we could park food trucks down there. I don't know where we could park them to, be part of that pie. The Commons, the same way. I think they would be pretty upset if food trucks were out there. The Little League Park, the concession stand is to, it's volunteers, and they sell food and ice cream to raise money for that organization. So, the villages that limit where you can put food trucks, is there any interest in, opening up a space in the lot here? I don't know, but I don't really see that we have a problem. I think our ordinances are pretty fair. They address everyone equally, and we've gone for a long time without food trucks necessarily revolving around all our streets. So I'm comfortable with keeping our ordinances the way they are.
Thank you. Trustee Day.
Yeah, so, and also for the record, I also was in favor of the conversation. Anytime there's a conversation, I say, let's have the conversation, because I think that's how we come to the best end result. So I did have a few questions. As far as, let's take Homewood, for instance, where do they restrict their trucks, their food trucks to? And I know there's multiple municipalities that restrict them, but I thought we might know where Homewood's are. Do we know where Homewood restricts
Homewood,
them?
according to their ordinance, it's the B1, B2, B3, B4, and I think it's called PS or LS1. It's like a public district.
Okay, so they allow it in the, okay. All right, that gives me a pretty good idea. So basically along Dixie Ridge, where those businesses.
Yeah, the ordinance isn't specific, it just lists those,
Just any of those businesses, okay.
those districts.
But it's also, it says with approval.
With approval.
So
Right.
it's a little
Right.
goosey.
Okay. And do we know anything about their approval process? Yeah, okay.
Point of information.
I can't speak to their process, but online it's very transparent. They have a form that's posted, Trustee Daggett, which is very, very specific about what's required for the owner of the mobile business.
I believe it's event specific too, their application.
It's very specific, but it's also very transparent, very public, and very clear.
Okay. So is there permitting process more for their events, like their Winterfest and that type of thing?
The application, it lists what event you're
going to be there. Okay. So it seemed, okay. So in our ordinance, it talks about an event, like what constitutes an event in our, so like if I'm at my house and I'm like, I'm gonna have a bonfire, have a food truck over.
You can't have the bonfire, but.
Well, I have a fire pit. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not gonna have a bonfire. Can I have a food truck in my driveway for that? It's private property. There's no issue with that?
Yeah, private property.
Could I get together with 4 of my neighbors and say, hey, you're gonna get a taco truck, you get the ice cream truck, I'm gonna get this and you get that, and we're gonna invite the neighborhood out and just have our own, as long as it's on our property. That also means it could not cross the sidewalk onto the tree line, correct? It'd have to be fully in my driveway.
Right, not on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Couldn't park a car on the sidewalk.
All right. And then when we say downtown district, how do we define the borders of the downtown district? Where does that lay out? Because I know we've covered a little bit this with the TIF district, because that pretty much covers the downtown area. What are the limits
So
of
the
that?
B5 basically starts where the vacant property that we own on Flossmoor Road.
Yeah.
And wraps around, includes Flossmoor Station, but Sterling.
Yeah,
So is
it
it- is
doesn't
it-
include the library. because
Okay.
it's got-
Yeah.
Does it include the brown building?
No, that's
Okay.
B2.
That's B2. Okay, so, here we go. And then how far up Sterling Avenue? How far north on Sterling?
Just
does
goes
it
to the
go?
library.
Just to the library. And then does it go south on Sterling at all?
No.
Okay. So the BMO Harris technically
That's
is
B2.
It's B2. It's outside of what's considered the downtown district.
Correct.
Okay. I have thoughts about the BMO Harris property that I will not go into. Anyways, okay, so that answers that question.
Wait, hold on. Looks like BMO is B5. That's the only one that's B5.
Okay, so it stops at B5 when you enter the alley. So
Yep.
that alley would then be the break. So that is included in the downtown district.
Just the BMO Harris.
Just the BMO Harris.
Yep. The other buildings next to it, adjacent to it, are not. Those are B2.
Okay, so the one just west.
Yeah.
That has it's the mixed use.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then, what was the other question? I had another question. I think you kind of covered this. Do we have the ability to narrow who and what is allowed? What are the limits of that?
The who is the problem, not the what.
Okay.
Okay. And one of the rationale for, just to bring it all together here, why are you allowed on private property and not allowed on the street? Why do we allow it at events and not at just random? It is operational control. For example, you have it all your block, you do a food truck party, you're responsible for your property. Anytime you have a food truck, there's discard. Okay? And so discard must be taken care of. And we can't walk around with a special sweeper cleaner water hosing, which is usually required for food discard, but you can on your private property. At all of our public events, we are responsible. We are the sponsor of the event. So we, as a village, have the responsibility to clean after it. And so those are the really basic, rational basis to say, yes, we like food trucks, but there's so much involved in a food truck. Now, if you say food trucks, you can, however, as Scott found in the ordinances, there are separate regulations for ice cream trucks because ice cream trucks attract children. Kids run out, you hear about deaths, injuries, whatever, so that there are very severe regulations, not only about discard and cleaning, etc., but more importantly, safety. But I mean, that's where you can distinguish it, because there's a rational basis.
Yeah, and then the information the staff put together, I think there were over 10 other municipalities that you cited with very detailed information, and it looked like any time that, like, food trucks are like food trucks, and then with ice cream trucks, here's all the regulation on ice, so it's actually more restrictive on those ones. Okay, I think that answers my questions. I think I kind of would like to approach this as more an open conversation. I like food trucks. I'm on record as liking food trucks. I've asked Stephanie numerous times, how do we get more food truck involvement, which they've graciously done at the Oktoberfest. We had them there. I like them. I think they're cool. I do think that with our ordinances, it's a slippery slope on how we approach it, because everything that we do is going to have potential impacts that we don't think about. And I think from my perspective, some of the questions I was asking was because I think in some of these situations, the food truck that has brought this conversation up is Pam's Food Truck. She's got amazing ice cream. I've had it numerous times. It's very good. The truck is clean. It's presentable. It's a great business model. But we can't limit it to just her.
It's not
right. We can't do that, and so I think that presents
can't
some.
Say one food trucker, she lives here.
Right, so I think that presents some potential issues that have to be considered with this. And so, from my perspective, I feel like if we could work with some of these vendors to find out ways that they can effectively operate within the constraints of the ordinances that we have, I think we could find some ways of doing that. I think partnering with neighbors to have, neighborhood and even just outside of the business district on Center, if there was someone who's willing to do it there. So for me, when I look at this and considering all of the information that's been here, also, I would love, I had the idea of Food Truck Fridays would be awesome, but it is what it is. I understand the ordinances that we have. I also understand the limitations we have in the downtown district. So parking alone, if a food truck was on the street in the downtown district, it's going to take up at least 2 parking spots. And then there's the, what do you do with people walking out from, there's just other safety considerations. So from my perspective, I think if we could first approach this as, number one, if there's anything in our ordinance that needs to be more clearly stated online, and have that conversation to figure out what is not clear and what is clear. Do we need to add any clarification to that, even with the events? Here are the events that it's allowed at. Make sure that those are there so that everyone has an opportunity to come in and participate in those events. Can we give priority to local businesses on that?
Oh, you're getting sticky now.
I know, but...
well, there is so much room, and so many of our providers are better known than others. So there's always a way to do that. Okay. But I never said that.
Okay. Understood. So from my perspective, I think that's my approach to it is let's make sure that we're very clear in what the regulations are, how it's communicated, even in those availability for events. And then see if we can come up with some ways where we can maybe we can collaborate to work inside of the constraints that we have and still give them the opportunity to be doing business here in Flossmoor. There are limits to it. I think the limits make sense. So that's kind of where I'm at now, but totally willing to hear what everybody else has to say and let that affect or impact kind of my thoughts on it. So.
Thank you. Trustee Dorsey.
So can you hear me now? Yes. To simplify this for me, I have to say I'm in support of limiting it outside of the central business district. I do understand how those brick and mortar businesses could possibly be impacted by that. And I think that's what some others have done also in this county. So we talked about what areas that would impact. Color code me on this. What areas on the map would be not included in that central business district?
So,
and I understand that's going to be a very small footprint.
Yeah, so it's basically, the only B5 district is the dark brown in the downtown area.
And currently, we're restricting even in that area, right?
It's restricted in every business district.
Right,
You're
right.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of where I'd like to go with this, right? We know what the ground rules are of the not. I mean, I'd even like to see a one truck in the brown area, like, every, few blocks or whatever, just to see what the congestion looks like. And I understand, right, Attorney Orr, that we're concerned with opening it up to the masses, but I also see the ability to limit based upon the geographic footprint, right? Even when we look at just, if we're talking about safety, right? If we only have a small geographic footprint, we can't open up to 100 food trucks. Right? I mean, that just makes this strategic sense to me. So I'm in support of Mr. Armstrong, their concerns, but I think outside of that, I still like to take a little more opportunity to see what it looks like to still allow food trucks and still protect our brick and mortar business based upon that geography. I do understand the limitations and the safety, especially with ice cream trucks and things of that nature. But I think even that, if we look where it is available, look for foot traffic and traffic of our children, we might have an opportunity to still come up with a design that is palatable for all.
So, Trustee Dorsey, where would you put them if you were?
Again, I like to see where currently is outside of that central business district to make sure that we are protecting our brick and mortar businesses. And I'd have to look at a map to, I can't answer that question right now. That's why I was asking what areas. But to look at a map and see what is currently outside of that central business district, and even see if it makes sense that we can add a food truck or two. Even like Trustee Daggett's, possibility of, hey, it's Food Truck Friday, right? Just something that still continues with this business model while we still protect our brick and mortar business. I'm not a hard no type of guy, right? I believe in trying to find a solution. And if that solution can't be met, I understand, but I'd have to look at a map, see what the geographic footprint of that map would be, and then see if that would even make sense to do a food truck, to allow food trucks in that area.
So are you in favor of having a food truck in a residential district, or are you just saying you're in favor of the business district?
See, and I think even in the residential districts, we really going to have to hear from our residents, right? I mean, would I mind on allowing on a certain day during a certain hour? Maybe, but a lot of our residents may not. So I couldn't say even residential areas. It would be those business areas that will not impact that central business district would be the only area that I could see looking at. I mean, because the residential areas, they still can have them if they're invited, if they're licensed, right? If it's, per that.
Would you include the commons though? I mean, that's a business, it's not.
So
it's private property.
You could put it in the commons, or you could put it in Meyer, but that's private property.
Well,
so
no.
those property owners.
Not really, because the zoning district prohibits
could be
if you're not in a building, enclosed building, doing operation.
So it could be. Yeah, I mean, and if we go back,
We'd have to look at different, if you're looking at different business districts, you'd have to look at amending the zoning ordinance for those districts as well, so.
But that is an amendment that could be made.
It could be, yes, but those are considerations. Right.
If the owners allow it.
Even if the owners don't allow it.
Right.
I think it just warrants, I appreciate the time. Literally, when I read this, I thought, okay, there was some work that went into it. And it was very informative for me, but I could see the work that went into providing this. but I'm kind of here to do the work,
Sure.
right? So if it takes us sitting down and trying to even do the exercise of even uncovering, yeah, this just doesn't make sense. At least we've now given a complete answer, right? And I know the time that it takes and the cost that goes along with it. I'm not short selling that at all. But as I look at it now, there still seems to be opportunity, although limited, but there still seems to be some opportunity where we could allow this type of business and protect our even our new potential brick and mortar businesses. I think we can meet that median, or at least it's worth going through the exercise to see if we can. So Mayor, I don't have an answer for you of where now.
But I need an answer. I need to be able to direct staff when.
Well, I will say, if I need to give an answer now, I couldn't vote residential areas because, I can't speak for all the residents. But for those business areas that are outside the central business district, I think it's worthy of us taking a deeper dive to see if that is an opportunity for food trucks.
Thank you. Trustee Lofton.
Earlier today, I said I thought that this discussion would have to be continued at some point in time because we wouldn't be able to come to a decision. But I have a little bit of confusion I'd like to clear before I say anything. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. Back in the 60s, a guy on the corner of 47th and Greenwood had a bag with towels or something in it. That was a peddler. They weren't in a $50,000 truck selling food. So that kind of threw me off. But moving on, one thing is for sure, I don't think a food truck could thrive in the central business district. I don't see that happening. I don't see the advantage to that, quite frankly. And I do see the disruption in it as well. I wouldn't want to see Beyond the Borders open their doors with a coffee shop around the corner, a coffee truck around the corner. Doesn't make sense. One of the comments that young Mr. Jackson gave on behalf of his mom was that maybe we can provide more location opportunities. And I hear the discussion from my colleagues that probably is something we need to spend some more time on. I do give you credit for all the work that the staff has done in making this happen for this discussion, but clearly there are a lot of things that we can do to promote this in a way that makes it beneficial to what I perceive as a business, not a peddler, business. Other towns are doing it. Yes, they have restrictions. We don't have restrictions. But I'm not ready to say tonight this is what we should do, because there's more to be done. Some great ideas are here. I like the idea of Food Truck Fridays, wherever that could happen. The city of Chicago has 3 months that they've opened up in Daily Plaza, I believe, where all the food trucks gather. We're smart enough to figure this out.
Thank you so much. Trustee Rogers.
I feel like what Trustee Lofton mentioned about peddler, when I read it, there's some language in there that we need to work with. These ordinances haven't been looked at in years. We're in 2025. And there are some updates that need to happen. We're not in 1920 or 1930s anymore. And the research does not show that children have been getting hit by ice cream trucks on a regular basis. So for me, that is not a good example to use when it comes to food trucks. Can food trucks and ice cream trucks be distinguished and separated? Yes, they can, because we have too many examples to show that there are other townships right around the corner from us that are doing it. I think that we do have an opportunity to include everybody. We can't just think about our brick and mortar stores and leave other businesses out, especially when they're residents. This isn't about Pam Jackson. This is really about business opportunity. And with that said, we need to really take this in consideration to see how we can have wisdom of the crowd. That includes our residents to come up with some of these same innovative ideas that these other villages have used. You know, I took a chance and researched Homewood, Park Forest, some of the other areas around here, just to give you an idea of what they've done. And I think we have an opportunity as a village to not only include, you know, new businesses here utilizing these innovative ways, but this is also an opportunity for the village to make a small amount of money. It's not going to be a large amount, but with permits and things of that nature that other villages are using to include mobile trucks in their communities, whether it's an ice cream truck distinguished under a separate ordinance from a food truck, or whether they combine them all under a food truck, they're still paying permit fees. Some as high as $300 for 6 months. So that's revenue that we could bring in. Am I a fan of it affecting the central business? No, but I'm also thinking about Flossmoor Commons. I think we have to think about Flossmoor Commons and the central business, because those are the businesses we have here that are the brick and mortars. And I would not be a fan of it competing against those businesses, no. But I do think that we can find some strategic ways on how we can improve those businesses, because really a mobile truck is really a seasonal opportunity. You know, and if we limit, or if we say no to this, then we're limiting ourselves and also not being innovative in how we think and how we can be inclusive to everyone that wants to bring in a business to the Flossmoor area. But just a point of clarification, when you ask about Homewood and how we're actually doing it, even Park Forest, I read some of their regulations. Let me go back. Homewood, they have a village permit event. They also have it where you can use a private catered event on private property. But then they also say outside of those exemptions, any food truck operating in a public right-of-way, sidewalk, or private parking lot must complete a temporary use application for food truck through Homewood Planning and Zoning Department. When operating on public property, trucks must remain less than 25 feet from an intersection. Greater than 25 feet from an intersection, greater than or equal to 15 feet from any driveway, in compliance with all village traffic and parking ordinances, and subject to immediate suspension or revocation if the village construction or emergencies arise. Now, if we look at Richton Park, business license requirement, and I'm only mentioning these things because, again, these are ways that the village can make money on permits. We're not even talking about their sales. That's going to be a small amount, because a mobile food truck or even an ice cream truck does not make a lot of money. Most of those are startup businesses that do lead into brick and mortar businesses. And I don't want to cut off their hand for some things that we could actually change as a board, which is our ordinances that haven't been looked at for quite some time. So Richton Park says, per village policy, no food truck may operate without a valid Richton Park business license. Operation guides, this was done May 28, 2021. Food trucks, mobile vending carts must only operate in permitted commercial districts. They cannot park within 150 feet of any brick mortar restaurant public entrance. Trucks may not occupy village-owned metro parking lots. Written permission from the private property owner, manager is required for any location. So I think we need to have some clear things here so that we show that we're representing everybody in our village. Because that's what our job is here as trustees. We're supposed to talk about it, see if we can come up with a solution that meets the needs of everybody, and at least try to have everyone satisfied, but not cut off one business for another. I'm not a fan of that, but I am a fan of trying to be as inclusive as possible. And I do want to thank the staff for the work that you've done, because this is a lot. But we signed up to be public servants, and unfortunately that's part of our job. But I do want to thank you for it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Mustafa.
I'd like to start by just giving some structure, because we started our discussion with reasons that we shouldn't change our food truck policy, and I'd like to flip it to how can we include food trucks as part of our economic development approach to what we've been doing. There are always a lot of reasons not to do something, But we can change our ordinances. We can change the way we recognize business. We can honor the longtime brick and mortar businesses and still give opportunity to new businesses that are mobile. We can talk about the kind of food and whether we would allow this or that. We can set those restrictions. It's already been stated. We're smart enough to do that. I'd also like us to make very public and clear on our website what are the rules for being a part of a Flossmoor event if you have a mobile food truck. Whether it's the process to follow, the licensing, the certification, just make it very clear and transparent. And what's the deadline for notifying the correct person? Make it very clear. We hold information very close sometimes, which can give the impression that it's only for certain situations or for certain people. And then we look up and a truck is parked on the sidewalk and you wonder, well, how did they get permission? I would never confront that food truck vendor because they got permission. But I would wonder how they got the permission because it's not published. If we can't have a truck at a park, let's state that. If we can't have a truck at a school for certain reasons, let's state that publicly. But in the meantime, we could make small changes. We could make it more visible that being in a private driveway when Gary is not doing a fire is okay. Now you have to kind of read through it to find it. Let's make that provision very clear. When can you have a truck? Let's make it clear that, let's change. Let's say you can park in your own driveway with your truck, but just not overnight. So that you could go to your own house, get product, get inventory, use the bathroom, have lunch, and you don't have to leave in 90 seconds because you got reported for being a truck in a driveway. Let's be reasonable, but let's tell people what the rules are and still continue these discussions about when and where we want to have more trucks, which I support. We have track records from Homewood. We have track records from other municipalities. Just like we did with above ground pools, we looked at how other municipalities did it. We weren't going to reinvent the wheel if we considered having above ground pools. We don't have to reinvent the wheel with our food truck policies. We can just go to Homewood first and say, hey, we're a partner community. Maybe we can have events together and have the same kind of rules for food trucks. This is doable. Let's make this part of our economic development approach to expanding businesses in Homewood while we're still protecting the established brick and mortar, but making it very clear and published how you get, under the current ordinances, how you get permission to be a part of a food truck opportunity. So you're not feeling like, well, could they and I couldn't, and why and when. That's not the way we want to operate. I don't believe we should be operating for the benefit of the residents in that way. So the first change I would propose to an ordinance is no parking overnight if you have a food truck or a commercial vehicle. So right,
That's already in place.
But people have been told to move if they have a food truck in their driveway.
No commercial vehicles in driveways has been on the books for.
That's what I'm saying. I want to change it. So, for example,
It already includes them.
I had a plumber in my house for 6 days. Nobody came by and said this commercial vehicle had to leave. They had plumbing work to finish.
If they're servicing the house, there's an exemption for that.
But nobody even came and said, are they servicing? Nobody came and said, is your son the owner of this truck? I'm not being facetious. I'm saying that was not an inquiry. That truck was there for 6 days because the bathroom upstairs collapsed into the first floor. So I'd like to make the ordinance very clear that if you have a truck that you can park, but not overnight.
But
So that if you have a
that's already on the books.
if you have a food truck, you can't come into your driveway and stay. You're asked to leave.
It's already there.
It's already there.
It's already there.
It's a commercial vehicle.
I'm saying I want to change that so you can stay longer than a minute or 2 minutes.
You want us to allow commercial vehicles to, that's a different discussion, but.
Well, if the commercial vehicle is a food truck, I want the ordinance to include that it includes food trucks, but they can't stay overnight. No, the food trucks have been asked to leave.
No commercial vehicles are allowed to park overnight. And if you're loading or unloading, my
She's not
understanding is.
asking for it to be, she's
I'm not
just saying
asking,
that.
I want to make them overnight. I want to make it clear that even if you're a food truck, you don't have to leave.
But that's not.
Oh, you're saying you want them to park overnight?
Yeah. That's
No.
They can park by the day, especially when they're operating as,
Gary's part of it.
yes, as trustee Dagger suggested.
Right. I think the situation is that the issue came up that the person who, Ms. Jackson was asked to move out of her driveway during the day. And if that is the case, that was incorrect because she wasn't there overnight, it was during the day. And I think that that's where the issue is coming from, so if that language is not clear, we need to make that clear.
So I think I understand what you're saying now.
Right.
So if the truck is parked there, not loading or unloading, but it's just there while not in operation, that's in violation of our current ordinance. Are you wanting to change that so people can park their commercial vehicles in their driveway all day long, but they just have to move it at the end of the day? That's what I'm asking.
Can we table that conversation to another, can we table that?
Yeah.
Because that's not what the issue that we're talking about
I'd like
right
to
now.
just respond to Trustee Dagger so we don't forget that we had this. It should not be a question whether you're unloading or not. That's what I'd like to propose for next discussion.
Oh, I'm not a fan of that.
It shouldn't be that somebody has to watch you and say, what are you doing? Okay?
But by that, we could have someone who's a FedEx operator park 6 FedEx trucks in their driveway for the entire day.
We'd have to narrow it. So I understand what you're saying, but we have to narrow it.
So I understand your point. I think it's something you and I can discuss outside of this, and then I think, as the mayor suggested, table this one because it is a separate ordinance. I just was confused at what you were trying to ask.
I do not want trucks to park overnight. No.
So is it not covered by this area that says, further, no commercial vehicle may be parked in residential districts other than to provide a service or to make a delivery or for the purpose of loading or unloading? Is it covered in that section? So if someone is loading or unloading, someone is making a delivery, right? And it doesn't say you have 10 minutes to load or unload.
Or servicing Gary Gaggin's
I'm not even worried about Gary and his parties anymore because I wasn't invited.
Party hasn't happened.
But I think this is covered. I think whoever we have enforcing the ordinance, making sure that residents understand this. I was loading or I was unloading. I'm within the ordinance.
Because there's no time constraint.
Right. There's no, as written, there's no timeline. So it's just a matter of communication and dialogue. If someone comes and says, hey, your truck is in your driveway or it's been in there for 2 hours, I'm loading or unloading. And the 24-hour rule is already
enforcement.
Right. So I think it's covered. It's just a matter of making sure that it's enforced. Right.
So that we have consensus that that's an enforcement issue.
Right. Because I think it's actually covered the way it's written.
Yeah. Can I ask a couple questions? So I know you're looking for direction from us, which we haven't got any direction for you guys. So in an attempt to kind of get closer to a direction, it sounds like the majority of the board is in agreement that the downtown district is absolutely out.
Correct.
We should not have food trucks there. It sounds like we're in agreement on that. So that is not to change. If I understand what a good number of the trustees are saying tonight, is that what further discussion would be looking for opportunity areas where we might be able to expand. So the question I have is, how do we go from the trustees saying we want to look for more opportunities to, there's two parts of this. What does staff do with that to then bring those opportunities back to us to say, here's what legally we can do or what we would suggest that would be a good compromise? And then what's a realistic timeline? Because we do have a lot of other things going on, and I would love to come up with a solution, but I don't think it's going to be a really fast solution because we have numerous major projects getting ready to start in the next month and other things, other business that we have to do. So we need to, I would like to give this the diligence that it deserves without impeding the start or completion of other projects that we have. So I guess that would be my question, probably more for the village manager, is what kind of time frame do you feel like would be reasonable to even come up with those suggestions to bring back to the
Can we start with Homewoods and say how much of this can we do?
Well, I would like to get the manager's response, if that's okay.
What I'm hearing from the conversation tonight is, as you summarize, no to the central business district, but you may be open to other business districts to allow it. The reality is that other business districts are adjacent to 4-lane highways. So we are talking about private property at that point. Any change to the zoning code will require a public hearing before the Plan Commission, and then that language brought before the village board. So we have what, B2, B3, B6.
B1, B2, B3, B4 I wouldn't count, that's office district. So B5 and B6. B5 is downtown district.
So the other commercial districts that have not office but retail would be B2, 3, 6.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
The 5's off the table.
5's off the table.
Because that's a central business district. So at that point, what I'm hearing is you're directing us to craft zoning language that would cover the permissibility of food trucks within those districts, B1, 2, 3, and 6. But it would have to be with the consent of the private property owner, because it would not be responsible of us to put food trucks on 4-lane highways going, 40, 45 miles an hour. Right. So that would have to go before the Plan Commission and then ultimately back up to the village board.
Yeah, and I think that could be, the solution, but I think there might be an intermediate step, which maybe is not as formal as that, as maybe saying, how much time would it take for you guys to really consider, here's what we would recommend, here's a couple of options, and then maybe polling the board on, are these options things that you would be in favor of, before we go down the path of sending it to the zoning commission, and then, I'm trying to figure out, is there a way that we can initially kind of get a better sense of the direction before we put all that time?
That's a nice conversation.
I know.
So if you want to do more than those particular zoning districts, now would be the time to bring that forward. At that point, you're looking at either permitting them in office complex or in residential districts.
But we have no control of that.
Other than private property.
But it doesn't mean that they can do it.
But they can just park on the street in a residential area. So in a residential, they're allowed now, but on private property.
Right.
Okay, and that would be the extent, which is fine.
To bring up a concern that the trustees have brought up about the special events, one of the things that we can do that you're referring to, that Homewood does, some kind of form that we can, that's an easy thing we could do. To be honest with you, as we've gone through our special events the last couple of years, we've had a hard time getting food trucks secured for some of those events too. So formalizing the process wouldn't be that difficult for us for that, or allowing people to apply for that wouldn't be that difficult for the special events that we do that allow food trucks. So we'll definitely look at that form from Homewood, and we work with Homewood on a lot of those different things too, so that's not going to be an issue.
Thank you, Jonathan. That's what I was addressing.
Yeah, and I think community comparability on community events is one thing, and I I know we're doing, obviously the upcoming Pride event with Homewood, and we certainly collaborate with them on a regular basis. But their business districts are much different than ours. And
Vastly different.
Certainly their downtown district, so I don't know that per se is a comparable community to look at with respect to the zoning code language. But if the board is interested in us preparing that language for these other business districts, we can certainly do that.
Well, it's pretty limited in scope to the businesses, the ones that are available. Residential, sure, pull it up in your driveway if that's what you want. You can't park on the streets. Park districts, you gotta go to the park district to get permission, I would assume.
Well, and let's talk about the park district for a minute. So, I think it was alluded to earlier by a couple of the comments. So, the times that you see food trucks on public property is with that property owner's consent, whether it's the school district or the park district. Now, the park district has affiliate agreement with Flossmoor Baseball, and through that affiliate agreement allows Flossmoor Baseball to bring third-party vendors of their choice to the park and permit them to be on park district property so long as they're covered by a certificate of insurance. So the village will only enforce if the truck is on the public street. But we understand, we have confirmed that through their affiliate agreement, they're able to make that decision. That's not the decision of the village. We're not authorizing food vendors. That's not a community event. That's not a community festival. We aren't choosing them. That is through Flossmoor Baseball, who they decide to do business with.
So really, we have the Commons, we've got Meyer, we've got the churches in town. And that's really,
Crawford, the church of Crawford, and we have Governor's Highway.
Yeah.
Again, these are
You got the
very
triangle.
wide highways.
So the first thing we probably should do is go to the owners of Meyer and the Commons and see if they're interested.
But why get involved in that?
Well, they have to give us permission.
But that'd be,
Why do we need to be?
What will we do at Myers?
Oh, I'm just saying, are they interested in doing
But
that?
why do we need to be?
Well, we don't
between
need to.
them?
We don't
They
need to.
wanna
Yeah, you're right.
have a food truck
Yeah.
festival and we
They
change
can-
the ordinance, they
right,
can do that.
right.
Why do we need to
We
spend
don't.
time doing that?
because it already allows for
Yeah.
that with their permission.
But I mean, it's a pretty limited scope really when we get down to,
But going to them
get down
would
to it.
just be to get a response from them, how they would respond if the trucks were there.
Yeah.
It's not that you're asking them to do it today or tomorrow, but our board talked about this, we want to get your input, make them partners in this. That would be why we would talk to them. Not that we have to, but we talk to people to include them. We talk to people to structure our own ideas, not because we have to, but we're inclusive, we're collaborative, and we are part of the same village.
And I think we could go to the Commons owners fairly easily to ask them if they would be supportive of that. We could probably go through Emmett over at Meyer to find out what policies that they have.
They may have specific covenants
Yeah.
that may prohibit it
But
entirely.
we can ask the
Yeah.
question.
But they have their own rainbow cottage.
Right.
Has an ice cream truck.
I'd be afraid.
I don't,
I'd be
they
afraid
do
to go
have
that way.
specific covenants for what you can and cannot put there at their subdivision, but
But I think
I
the
don't
other
know.
I think the other conversation with that would also be, we need to talk to Pop and Corks, we need to talk to Tree, we need to talk to
Right.
Subway, we also need to talk to those businesses that are over there in the same way that we've gotten the feel of
That's
the
what I'm
downtown.
trying to anything.
Because,
But it's not a big question because there's
No,
just
it's
not
pretty
that
easy.
much, available property. for
Well,
food
I
trucks.
have a thought about this. It comes under the heading wild and crazy. Last time I checked, one of the biggest private landowners in Flossmoor is us.
Right.
We got 38 acres sitting out on Baltimore Road.
Right.
We can do whatever we want to do with that. I see a special event, even Gary's burn party. We can do whatever we want to do there.
Oh, yeah.
right.
And have full control.
Right.
Have a special event, whatever we want to call it.
And I think,
If it rains, we're screwed though, George.
Pardon?
If it rains, we're screwed.
and I think kind of getting back to my,
Trucks are outside all the time.
Yeah.
they are. one of my initial thoughts as well is the collaboration part of it, right? So in my world of a food truck event, I actually, just some years back, spoke with the owner of a Flossmoor station and said, what if it was on a Sunday, none of the other restaurants are open, you're open, but you did all the liquor sales for this event. Would that be worth your time? And they said, it'd be worth a conversation. Yeah. So I think even that collaboration, let's come up with some solutions. But again, that's kind of outside the ordinance, right?
That's not what we do, that's up to them to do.
No, totally get it, totally get it. But what it is it's making sure that we have a spirit of collaboration and clarity. So I do like the idea of let's have, the information for our events and what food trucks can be there, and maybe if someone found out about that earlier than others, whatever, I didn't say that. But let's let's be thoughtful about how we're doing this. I think that's the best part about this conversation. And I like that this has become more of an open conversation because I think that's how we understand where each other's at with it. And we may look at all this stuff and be like, oh, we spun our wheels for all this time and we're not going to be able to do anything. We did that with No Mo May. That was my fault. But we had the conversation, right? And now if anyone came to us that, we can now have that and say, look, we went through this process and it was fairly exhaustive to get this information to see where were the residents at, where were the businesses at, where was the board at, and at this time, this is where we've landed. So I think that's why this isn't an exercise in futility, even if we get to a point where we're like, we really shouldn't change anything. We're giving it the honest effort to say, let's really explore this and see what opportunities are there. Tonight, we've already determined that the board is not in favor of the downtown district, which is good. So we've solidified that. I think the next step is to see, does it make sense to open this up to any other areas? And maybe the information we get back is, here's the limited scope of it. And then, again, we try and work within the ordinance as it is to make more opportunities for a business like Dip and Double to have opportunity in the village. And I think that's where, as a couple of the other trustees said, I think that's the work part that we have to do, with the understanding that we can't be taxing on the staff that we have that has to do this, that we don't even really understand always how much time one of our requests becomes. So I think that's, 3 days for 3 staff members is almost 30 hours of work. It's a lot of work. So I think time frame, which is why that was the second part of my question, is what's a realistic time frame for that to get done with the workload that you guys have now? Because we can sit up here and say, do this, but we don't really have an understanding.
What are you asking them to do? So what I'm hearing is that you're asking them to make a few informal outreaches to some businesses in the Commons and in Meyer and see if that's even a possibility before we go through a full-blown plan.
I would go further and just say certainly all businesses, so we know we've heard from everybody, because we're here making decisions for the businesses when really we should survey all the businesses and ask them, because I'm looking at again this temporary use application for food truck Homewood has. I'm willing to bet that they probably have opportunities for some of those businesses to collaborate with the food truck to bring in businesses with them. But we don't know those answers yet because we haven't surveyed all the businesses. So I think that this is an opportunity, even the businesses in the central district, we can leave our ordinances there but have special temporary use application forms for certain times if there is a collaborative effort. But I think that that's a conversation that everybody in the business district, central district, Meyer, Flossmoor, Commons area, I think we need to receive their input on how they envision collaborating with a food truck if they would like to, or just say no. But at least we'll have the response of all the business owners, and then we can get input from the residents, and that's really us being inclusive to know what everybody actually is looking for, with the exception of a few handful of people making decisions on behalf of everybody.
I think your point about collaboration with the businesses is very timely, because unfortunately, as much work as has been done to bring businesses to Flossmoor, we've lost perhaps 40 businesses over the last 3 years. I sat down with one of the business owners at Shops on Sterling, and just talking to that business owner, that business owner listed 25 that had left shops on Sterling.
Can I comment on that?
Wait,
When you're done.
When I finish. So I am not trying to emphasize businesses fail, but I'm just saying it's hard to run a small business. Very difficult. So to Trustee Rogers' point, if the businesses together in the business district said, no, we don't want carte blanche food trucks here because it's competitive, but we want an event that brings people to the central district, then their input is very important to see if those types of collaborations could help the businesses grow, sustain, and bring people to the district.
Sure. So maybe to kind of wrap this up in a bow, if I can. So maybe give the businesses an opportunity to comment on whether they would or would not support it. Not that we can wait for everybody. Some people may just not care to respond.
No, but you ask the question.
But we ask the question. If we
That's
ask the
fair,
question.
but it also comes down to the property owners.
No, totally get it.
Wish.
Totally understand.
But I think that's fair to
yeah.
let the business owners weigh in.
Yeah. And just a quick comment about the Shops on Sterling. So I was in the Shops on Sterling. I helped start it. It's an incubator.
Right.
If you know anything about incubator spaces, it has about a 10 to 20% success rate. That's it. That's how they work. It's let's give this a shot, let's see how it goes. And a lot of those businesses, they don't survive. It's an incubator. But then you get something like These Cookies, who does great. Now they've got their own space, they've moved out of it. You've got some that stick around for quite a while, and those do great as well. So I think we got to be careful when we're talking about the lost businesses of Flossmoor that we include those, because incubator spaces are R&D for business. It's research and development, and it's a low cost of entry. It's a low cost of operation to see if it's viable.
Their goal is not to fail.
No, I understand that. We have to support them as best we possibly can, just with the realistic understanding that in an incubator design, you're going to get 10 to 20% success rate. That's considered good. So that just a comment on that. I know it was totally off topic, but that's all. And I'm
and also Flossmoor Commons was empty 3 years ago, and now it's almost full. So
it'd be interesting to hear their comments, so I think that would be a worthwhile cause.
all right. So does that give you the direction we need?
Yes. So what I'm hearing is you'd like for us to do some surveying of our business community to ascertain whether they would be interested in this. Most notably, our property owners at Flossmoor Commons and Meyer. If there is not interest, I guess depending on what that interest level looks like, we'll determine whether or not we're putting together regulations for zoning code amendments.
And the central business. I would ask them as well. I wouldn't exclude them, any business, because they may want a special event. And if that's something that we're thinking about, at least we'll have inclusive information. And if they say no, with a qualitative survey, and I'm willing to help put one together, that's my area of expertise. I think we'll at least have the information, to know what everybody's opinion is about it, and then we can make the best decision for the community.
Not to put this gentleman on the spot, but we got future brick and mortar out here. What do you think?
I wouldn't do that to him. I wouldn't put him on the spot like that.
Don't answer that. That's fine.
Your survey will be anonymous.
Exactly.
So that, and then also the clarity on special events that Mr. Bowe touched on.
Yeah.
So we are clear from a village perspective and what we're looking at. When we're talking about special events, remember that the village of Flossmoor has a half-time special events person, or 0.5 staff person who's doing our special events, and who's running 2 of our commissions. So as we're thinking about special events, we aren't a park district. So when we're talking about different things we can do with their businesses and work with them, yes. But shutting down parts of the central business district at any time for a special event is a public safety thing that we have to get police, fire, and public works on every one of those events. So there's a cost to that usually. So a good example of that is Dunning's does had all the chefs. We work with the departments to close things down, and there's a cost to that because, and we have to clear it from our other businesses that go on during the time period too. So there's a lot of push and pull there. So there's always there's a special event application that's available right now for businesses if they want to do something. And then we have to work with our public safety aspect as well as what we can do for that. But that application is already available.
But I think we're talking about food trucks having a application that they can go online and say, I want to pick from these events and this is
Correct. We're talking about I think what Trustee Rogers was talking about was an added question of how can people work together in the downtown business district with a food truck, or if they want to have a special event that has a food truck, would that be allowable in the central business district? All special events that we're talking about are village special events. Any special events that people would like to have outside of village events can also be applied for, but those are at a cost of closing down a certain amount of that road, and that's usually more expensive.
Right, and that cost should be added into, if the village allows it, that application, that cost should be added in so that we're not sponsored,
Yeah. And that's, we do that, so there's usually, if there's liquor served, there has to be an officer there present, those different things. So, that survey, is that something that we want to put out to the Flossmoor Business Association in general, or what are we looking for as far as, because that's the relationship that staff has built is with our Flossmoor Business Association, who we can open it up to other individuals. We can have it on our website for people who are not in the FBA to also chime in if they're.
I would do both to business owners and the FBA, and then also the building owners.
So as the board is aware, we've been putting together a business registration list. That is an ongoing process, so we'll do our best to make to connect with all those business owners, but that's part of this year-long process of getting them, so we have formal contact information moving forward. But we can do it to the FBA, we can do it to business speed, we know, and we can point to them to our website with a few survey questions that we designed.
Thank you.
Several times this evening I've heard comments about events surrounding food trucks and food truck related events. When we go to survey businesses, are we setting an expectation that we are adding events? It's not real clear from the board at tonight's discussion. Are we looking to add events? Because to Mr. Bogue's point, we are not the park district. We have a half a staff person who is managing our special events that are usually multifaceted and also related to our commission's purposes. So I don't want to set any sort of unrealistic expectation that we have right now the bandwidth to add new events without having a discussion of what other events are not happening in lieu of new ideas.
So I'm the culprit on that because I said Food Truck Friday, which is really catchy. And that brought this discussion. Yeah, he did. What I will say is when I brought that idea up, Stephanie heard that idea, and what she did was masterfully able to incorporate that into the Oktoberfest when we used the South lot. So if we had maybe opportunity for a few more vendors to be at an event like that as that event grows, I would be happy with that. I felt like that was a really good compromise, understanding the restrictions that we had, that it's South Lot, it's on a day where there wasn't a lot of other business happening. And it also left the opportunity for those businesses to be involved as well, because none of the food trucks that came were serving liquor, none of them were serving cookies. So these cookies was there, so I think that was a good.
Very sensitive to that.
Very sensitive to it, because they're a small business and they have to make enough and they have to sell their stuff. They don't want to go home with stuff. So I think that she did a great job of choosing vendors that were a good fit for that event that did not compete with our downtown. So I think there's also something to be said to that, as to let our event coordinator make those decisions that are best for the event, but also our businesses, because Stephanie does an amazing job of being sensitive to the businesses that are here, because she's at this business SBA or the Flossmoor Business Association meetings. She has ongoing relationships with them, so I would not want to hamstring her by doing something that just allows any old person to come in and not have the thought of how is this going to impact the others, which we have some restrictions on if we're not careful.
But to be clear, I am not an advocate of adding new events. I'm talking about working with the events we have. You might want to, if we're having the events, like Infant has an event every summer, we might want to let them get on our list so food trucks can say, oh, Infant's got an annual family. No, I don't want to, but I'm just saying if we're going to have a list of events that food trucks might want to enter, why not include that? It might be a way of helping them. Yeah, put us on your list.
But that's not a village event. I think it's not a village event. Yeah.
Okay, forget it.
Because then if IJP gets on the list, then my non-bonfire party gets on the list.
IJP and cross the line.
So I just find that one thing that Trustee Gaggett said, and I think needs clarification on, and from a staff perspective, just tell them how much we've discussed this and thought about this too, is, I think there's this Food Truck Friday or Food Truck Monday, or in Highland Park when I was there, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, which was a date that was, a lot of businesses were closed in Highland Park. And the reason why it worked well in Highland Park is we had a lot of village-owned lots that were not in use in during days and different things like that. Our lots are all located near the central business district, which makes it tricky.
Well, except for Meyer, but if you've ever picked up garbage there for our cleanup days, you will know that there are very marshy areas. It's very rutted. It's not a good place to park a food truck or have anybody walking through to get to a food truck because it's really, everything's pretty unstable.
Well, you're talking about our 38 acres.
Some of the best areas that you think about doing this in are actually in some of our parks. And that's something that is not completely in our wheelhouse. It's something that we would broach with the park district or talk of course with, because we're partners. We're not going to nominate them to do anything either. But if you're looking at some of our locations where you'd be able to do stuff like that, we don't manage our parks. That's a district, so some of those opportunities are probably there as well. But
yeah, and I don't think I hear the intention of, hey, let's add this event. I think it's more so get the feeling from the businesses of, hey, in the future, if an event like this came up, is this something you'd be opposed to? Not that we're absolutely adding Food Truck Friday, and I apologize for bringing it up. Not that we're saying that, hey, let's add this thing. More so, what would the feeling, if something like that came up, would they be opposed to it?
The question should be, are you willing to host a food truck event? So that they understand it's not our event, are you willing to host?
Or is it even something that you've considered?
Yeah, we give them enough, like, I never want to see a food truck on our property, or this is possibly a really good idea.
Right.
But if the board is not willing to amend the regulations for the central business district B5, then it doesn't make sense to me that we would be surveying them for their interest in having food trucks. So I understand the idea of
I think that is the question though. I think that we don't know yet because we haven't surveyed those individuals. And to me, that's where the special requirement would come, because it would have to be a concerted effort from the business district to say, hey, we would like something like this on this special event day, which would fall under a temporary use application. We don't know that though. We've only had people saying that they don't want food trucks in general in the area, but we don't know about if they would want a special event to occur if something down there were to happen.
Which that kind of falls under the ordinance as it is now, special events, but it would just have to be a village sponsored. Right.
So, I mean, if we're looking at, a food truck Friday, where we just by ordinance, similar to sidewalk sales or cafes, just by regulation, permit food trucks to show up from noon to 6 on a Friday, then that's changing the regulation. I'm hearing both sides from the board, so I want to be clear, and I don't want to set an expectation or aggravate a concern of an existing business owner that the board is in fact talking about changing the regulations for the central business district. I want to be clear on that. So I understand there's a couple of trustees who are interested in maybe central business district regulation changes that would allow for a temporary use. That's what I'm hearing from you, Trustee Rogers, but I didn't hear that from the rest of the board.
I'm out on that.
I would never vote
Yeah,
for
same
that.
here.
But what I'm saying is I can't answer that. That's for the businesses. So that's why I'm saying if we ask them in a survey, we haven't done that. So for me to say no, I'm responding for the businesses, and they haven't responded for themselves.
But the majority of the board has said they won't be supportive of that.
Well, then that means that we're not willing to listen to our businesses and trustees and our residents if we don't survey them to find out what it is they want. We've only heard from
To me, the question is, and we have heard from two. We've heard from Dunning, we've heard from Flossmoor Station. I respect.
In the third.
No, no. I'm not ever going to put a brand new person on the spot like that. So I respect that they have stepped up to voice how they feel. But the question could be, are there any circumstances, or would you ever, under any circumstances, feel there's a benefit from a one-time special event that promotes your business? See, they're talking about they don't want trucks every Wednesday, randomly driving through. I don't support that either. But there has been an advantage, and there was a request, going back to Ms. Jackson's original questions, grand opening for a new business. It was her intent to bring people to the grand opening by being there with her ice cream. It was her intent to support another business that has expressed an interest in collaborating to bring people to that business. So my question is, are there any businesses that would say for a special event or a special use that their business could benefit from something celebratory, something that brought community together?
But the downtown district is you're in favor of it. You have a business, you're absolutely in favor and have a grand opening. The problem with the downtown district is that you're taking parking places, which is going to hurt his business and his business and his business. That's where we get into bad logistics, not ideas, not willingness.
Can't the village be very restrictive in saying if you have a grand opening, you can have one truck?
One truck is still 2 spaces.
Or 3.
She was able to be a part of the grand opening. She had a great idea. She had everything that she brought inside and served from inside, and it was very well received.
Well, I don't want to equate the excitement of this beautiful truck with cups of ice cream inside, so that could be a different conversation.
But because of the logistics, with the downtown district, very different from your suggestion, which I think is to poll the businesses. The downtown district polling doesn't work because of logistics, not because of the intent of any particular business owner, or willingness, or excitement.
And we do have the project coming up, the CBD project coming up that's going to even complicate things for this season too.
So you have board support for Clarity Online and board support for seeing if there's opportunities in other spaces other than the central business district.
Before we move away from this, would the business association have any desired input on this?
They're gonna ask Stephanie.
That's what it is.
All right. Thank you very much. We do not need to go into executive session, so I'm going to call for other business. Trustee Gustavo.
Can I make a motion to?
Oh, I guess I'm out of order.
And thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, Scott was standing for a long time.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. I would like to thank Flossmoor Fire Department and Flossmoor Police Department. Unfortunately, AT&T cut through a ComEd line and electricity went out like that. Like not just the refrigerator, not just the television, but completely went out for homes on Balmoral, part of Berry, and AT&T didn't know they did it. They had a digger that was automatically digging with nobody monitoring it. So, long story short, thank you very much. A very elderly neighbor was very agitated when he couldn't open his garage door. Pulled into our driveway, and police and fire were there in 3 minutes. Did all they could to put his mind at ease. I mean, it was another reason that Flossmoor is wonderful. And the empathy, the compassion, the understanding for his state of mind, I just thank you so much. He pulled into our driveway, and I just called him literally 3 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Rogers.
Just want to go back and say thank you to the staff again. I know last month was building, what was it?
Public Works, the National Public Works Week.
Yes, thank you, because I don't know if I had a chance to actually say it, but thank you for all of your service, because it is a lot. And then thank you to the staff for everything that you do, because it is a lot. Also, thank you to the trustees, because you're taking these concerns seriously as we should. And I just want to thank everybody here and the mayor. I wanted to go back and thank the two individuals that were appointed to the CRC. I didn't get a chance to say that earlier, but they're not here. But thank you anyhow, so I can remember to say it. Because sometimes if I don't have a comment, I'll just say no comment and forget about, the things that we need to say to those individuals that do put in a lot of the work. And just knowing the work that you put in and the research that we do as trustees to read the work that you give us on these agendas. Thanks again. So that's pretty much all I had to say today.
Thank you. Trustee Dick.
Yeah, a couple of congratulations. There were a lot of graduations this week. I believe we have a daughter who graduated high school. Congratulations to her.
Bridget's son.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Bridget's son graduated as well. The gentleman to my left got married a couple weeks ago. So congratulations to him. And also we have Parker has their history team is going to nationals, which is actually internationals in Washington, D.C. They leave on Sunday. They come back on Thursday to compete for Flossmoor in that history competition, which is amazing. And then also just a thanks to the police department. We were made aware of a situation that happened over in Heather Hill where there was a party, had 300 to 400 youths that were there. Nothing nefarious was going on other than them being loud and being kids and obnoxious, but the police department did a fantastic job of taking a situation that very easily could have been bad and masterfully de-escalated the situation, closed it down, made sure people understand what had to happen, and served both the kids and the community by doing it that way. So thank you for that work. I know it's not always easy when you show up to a situation like that, and in this situation, you guys did a fantastic job. So thank you for that hard work, and please convey that to the officers. I know you have a lot of very professional officers who want every situation to go that way, so please convey that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, that's Flossmoor House.
Flossmoor is. Thank you.
Trustee Dorsey.
I like a spirited conversation. And I like it even more when a spirited conversation can have difference in opinions, and it comes out with a true sense of collaboration, trying to get to a resolve. So thanks to all of you up here. Didn't want that to go without saying. And it's been a great evening. I can't wait to do this again in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Trustee Lofton.
Chris, don't be alarmed. This isn't as bad as it may sound. But welcome. We look forward to you and Jennifer for your effort. And good luck with that.
Thank you. Trustee Nyhurst.
I'm going to go through a list of thank yous tonight. Not really. Trustee Rogers did that pretty well. I just want to clarify one thing, that the Flossmoor Station does serve soft serve ice cream, not just starting in August, it's starting now, because every Thursday night they have dog days. And my dog, Angus, got a cup of ice cream, so that's how I know that. But anyway, thanks everyone for coming, and it has been a good conversation. Kevin's exactly right.
Thank you. Clerk Lugabo.
So I just had a question.
Speaking of the high school graduation and economic development, I just wanted to double check that the village doesn't have anything going on with the city of Berwyn, given the large Berwyn advertisement at the HF graduation. I thought that was kind of odd, so just want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
No, you're not missing anything.
Okay, all right, well.
I questioned it as well.
Okay, and they don't have their meetings on Zoom, so unfortunately, I would have missed that update as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Village Attorney?
I've spoken too much.
Village Manager?
I probably have spoken too much as well.
A couple of updates. One, I want to give a thank you to Senator Napoleon Harris. He included a $250,000 appropriation for capital improvements in the state budget that passed on June 1st. So we're looking to use that towards the Dartmouth Bridge replacement. We've got a grant for bank stabilization, and now we've got a grant for half of the work for the bridge, over half of the work. So that is extremely helpful. We'll keep looking for grants to fill the hole there, fill the gap there. So very excited about that. Thank you, Senator Harris. IDOT had a meeting with deconstruction and village staff last week to talk about the Central Business District improvements. We are scheduling an open house for the community on Wednesday, June 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. It is an open house. Engineers will be here, Public Works will be here. Will IDOT and deconstruction be here as well?
Deconstruction will have somebody here and not IDOT.
Okay, great. So they will be here, and so come at any time, ask any questions that you have. Also, Mr. Brunke will be meeting with the Flossmoor Business Association later on this week to go over plans and coordinate with them. So looking forward to that project finally starting. And again, IDOT was in charge of the letting and also the construction because the grant goes through them. And so that is, it's been a little bit of a delay than what we were originally expecting. Also, we have our Juneteenth festival and parade. It's all going to be in one day on June 19th, starting at 10 a.m. The parade kicks off over at Western Avenue Elementary, and it'll be followed by a mini festival, a mini version of what they used to do over at Parker Junior High. So hopefully folks save the date and come out to support that. I also already mentioned Pride. Happy belated birthday to Trustee Rogers, who celebrated last weekend. And happy Father's Day to everybody who's a dad or who fathers other folks, mentors other folks. And then I'll see you the following day on the 20th. Anything else? I'm sorry, not on the 20th. The following day on the 16th. Yes. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Any opposed? No. Okay, have a good night.